It is hard to pass the ball every snap. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because now these defensive ends get to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. Linebackers are dropping back. They're not holding for run because there's no play action. So it's hard on USC. But watching Oregon really execute everything they needed to execute, which is the offense, the defense, and special teams.
Special teams are special.
But yes, that's right. Malik Benson taking it back for 6, scoring, putting points on the board for his team. That was a great job. It was fun to watch.
I've been working with it long enough to know special teams got to be special in big games,
That's right.
And that's, it's an interesting thing for Oregon this year where we spend so little time talking about it. But you go back to the Iowa game, and I thought that was one of the keys that the staff had going in, knowing Iowa is so good returning punts and doing little things here or there. And Oregon ended up being the better team on special teams that day. They beat them almost at their own game. And then this one, I was talking to some people who were down around team meetings on Thursday and Friday, and this was something the Oregon staff circled because they've known that USC is a team that at times doesn't take it as seriously, or they can get lackadaisical. You go back, they went on the road to Notre Dame earlier this year, and it was a very similar game where they're throwing it early, you're in the ball game, and then all of a sudden Notre Dame returns a kickoff for a touchdown, and it totally swings the game. And so Oregon staff, to your point, they went into that game and they circled and said, we're going to be better in this area.
That's right.
And you had the leaping penalty on the field goal that extended a drive for Oregon. They go on to score the touchdown. You had the doink for USC at the end of the first half, and then, as you point out, Malik Benson running the punt back. I wanted to ask you about this, too, because we knew USC's offense was great coming in, and it was going to be probably the biggest challenge for Oregon's defense.
Right.
And gave up some big chunk pass plays in the first half, and they got beat a couple of times, and then the pass interference penalties in the second half. But what impressed me the most is that USC is running the ball a little bit better this year. They're averaging over 200 yards a game, and I thought that was a testament to Oregon's defense. And I wondered, honestly, if it was the philosophy coming in, saying we're going to make you one-dimensional.
That's right.
You're not going to be able to run the ball and throw the ball and say, hey, you might hit a couple of shots over us. We're going to play some press man on the outside. We'll take the chunk plays. But what's the percentage of completing those 50-50 balls? Because it's not usually 50-50.
No.
And USC on the game, to your point, 28 carries for 52 yards. That's a 1.9 yard per carry average.
Well, anytime you go into a game, you have to stop the running game. You have to. Because, again, It helps the linebackers when they know they have to pass.
Yeah.
Okay, because when they don't know they have to pass, those linebackers need to take care of the run. And then here comes play action. Now you got the linebackers sucked up for run, and then they're throwing behind the linebackers in that dead area.
Right.
One thing is important to understand too. Oregon didn't give up that gigantic explosion play. Like they had a couple of passes, 20 yards, maybe 15 yards, but nothing real long. And then, so you didn't get an explosion play against the run or the pass. Everything was in front of them. DBs, yes, they got challenged, and yes, they got beat. But you're talking about a couple of NFL receivers that can play at the next level. Yeah, they're going to get there. It's going to happen. But they didn't give up the big play. They didn't give up the, hey, it's 2 plays and a touchdown. It was maybe, a 7-play drive, a 8-play drive, and then mistakes happen. And then all of a sudden USC's trying to run the football.
Yeah.
And then it's 2nd and 8, and it's 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. It's so you have to credit the front 7. The defensive line did a great job. They didn't get a lot of sacks. They didn't get after the quarterback, but they stopped the run.
Yeah, it was huge, man. I looked to it that drive at the end of the first half, and we joke about the doink because it was funny, and the sound effect was great inside the stadium.
That was loud.
And everybody freaks out because that was a pretty solid doink. That was
loud.
Square right in the middle of the post. That was a good doink. But I go back to that drive because I think there was a couple of things there. One, I thought it was interesting to watch the time management from coaches, right? That's a big thing we follow. And USC was worried Oregon was going to get the ball back. And so what did USC do? They had 1st and 2nd down essentially from the 10-yard line and goal.
Yeah.
They ran the ball twice.
Yes.
Because they were worried Oregon was going to get the ball back. And to your point about being able to stop the run, they picked up no yards. And all of a sudden it's 3rd and goal from the 10, which is a low percentage play. You get the stop and then the doink on top of it. I just, it was a game that Oregon had to have defensively. They came up with stops when they needed to. They gave up 230 passing yards, give or take, in the first half. Mayava ended the game with 306.
Yeah.
So it shows you some adjustments that were made. Part of that was defensive pass interference penalties, no doubt. The other thing, and this goes back to what we've kind of talked about as a theme, and we'll get to it today in terms of who's going to be playing and not playing as far as we know. But we've talked about this now for about a month where Oregon has gotten to the point recruiting-wise and stacking talent-wise that they have the ability to overcome injuries. And last week, you find out, kind of at the end of at the tail end of our show, Isaiah World's banged up. He might not be playing. And then I'm talking to Dusty on the sideline before the game, and I'm like, all right, well, Janoris Wilson's out too. He's your number 3 tackle. He's the guy who started against Iowa when Harkey couldn't play. So now your left tackle's out, and his backup is out. Who the hell? I didn't even know who was next on the depth chart.
I didn't know me either.
I had to ask him, and he said, I think Fox Crater will start. And I said, Fox Crater, he played 32 snaps all year.
Know.
And pass. How many times did they touch Dante Moore? Yeah. They couldn't get a hand on him. There was
close.
A moment where you had, and then Poncho goes down, second drive of the game. So now you're out your center. And we all remember how the offensive line started last year with Charlie Pickard playing. It wasn't pretty.
I know.
Not an issue. I mean, a couple of, little snap infractions and that kind of stuff from not playing that'll happen. And then there's a moment in one of your second half touchdown throws where Kawika Rogers is your right tackle. And so you got backup right tackle, backup left tackle, and backup center. And Dante Moore made one of the best throws he's made all year to Kenyon Sadiq in a touchdown pass in the second half. Just strength in numbers is what Lanning talks about. They've recruited for moments like this. That showed up big time last week.
Well, it was crazy watching that because you don't even notice that the right tackle and left tackle are backups and the center. And you're like, wait, what? Right. And they're running the ball down their throat.
Yeah, Oregon ran the ball for 179 yards.
And that's good enough. That's that. You can keep that defense honest if you can run the ball like that with backups. And that, it's just it tells you this coaching staff, everybody's ready to play.
Yeah.
When they're looking at you going, hey, you're in. Oh, me? Yeah, you're in. And you got to run in there and you got to, compete at a high level and keep it at the same level as everybody else. They're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's big time. I mean, the most important guys on offensive line are right tackle, left tackle, and center. And there were backups.
We're all backups.
It's not the guards.
No.
Okay, it's the right tackle, left tackle, and center. Are you kidding me?
You got to protect the blind side. You got to be able to. Who's calling the checks at the line of scrimmage?
Yes.
It's the center, and just remarkable to do that. And I think it also speaks to, and you can talk a little bit about this as a coach and obviously a former player, but I'd imagine not every locker room has the ability for guys to understand, to wait their time, or I want to go play somewhere. Like I want to give Charlie Pickard a lot of credit, man. That was senior day for him at Autzen Stadium. He's a local kid. We remember how the year started for him last year when they tried running him out there at center, and it didn't go great. He played a little bit, didn't end up playing in the back end of the year because Poncho moved back to center, and the rest is history, right? He's a guy who could have gone and started somewhere. He could have hit the portal and said, maybe not at a top 10 ranked team in the country, but that guy could have got playing time. Instead, he stays and he buys into what the staff is selling, and he understands at some point my number is going to get called. And it did. And what did he do when it happened? He showed up and he played great. That's not something that I feel like is a DNA trait in every locker room. We're in that window now where the portal's going to open up in January.
Yeah.
Guys are looking for what's next. Where's my next spot? Where am I going to go play? There's a lot of guys who seemingly have been bought into the mantra and mentality of this team, of next man up, of doing whatever it takes to win. And I thought that was just it was a great example of it on Saturday.
You don't see that anymore. We call it development. He was there, getting developed over time.
Yeah.
Because most of the time in today's world, guys don't play second string, they're out. They're gone.
See you later.
And so as a coach, how do you develop your players? And that's what a lot of guys are missing in the college level is you can't develop these guys because they're not staying long enough.
Right.
And so give him credit. Yes, you want to play. I understand. Everybody wants to play. They're thinking, well, if I don't play, how can I go to the next level? But he believed in the system. He believed in Dan Lanning and his teammates, and he wanted to stay. And wow,
yeah,
that's big.
It's huge, man.
Yeah.
They have had guys banged up, especially on the. It's funny how the injuries are just kind of stacked on one side of the ball. Defensively, they're pretty healthy. Nothing really going on that side of the ball. Every single guy that's going down happens to be on the offensive side. But it's just, man, next guy up. You're down your top receivers. Didn't matter. Dante Moore in that game, 22 of 32, 57. He did throw the one interception where he just got confused by the look that they gave him. But outside of that, man, he made some. That touchdown pass to Sadiq and this, up the seam. You had the third down throw on that last touchdown drive to Malik Benson where he's kind of sliding down by the sideline. Just some NFL-type throws from Dante Moore. And to do that in that moment, considering offensive linemen are down and receivers are down, you're getting big games from Malik Benson. Kenyon Sadiq with another massive game last week. We talked about him last weekend having to be big. 6 catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. So you're down these top wide receivers, and it almost feels like they've morphed into one strength by numbers because McClellan and Benson are playing well.
Right.
And then Kenyon Sadiq, because it's like, let's just flex him out. He's our number 1 wide receiver now.
Let me ask you a question. I don't want to veer off, but do you think he's staying? You think he's going?
If he gets a first-round grade, I would tell him to go, as much as I'd love for him to come back.
I know.
Because he's a freak, man.
No, he is. No, seriously.
Watching him warm up on the sideline, I'm impressed because I'm not. You're a former NFL player. You're a former Duck, right? So you see these guys that you used to play against guys that size. For me, as a undersized PIL football player standing on the sideline, I can't even put into words how Kenyon Sadiq doesn't make sense. How big he is and how fast he is in the way that he moves.
Right.
It doesn't compute.
Right. It's funny because everybody's watching him and they're watching him down the field catching balls and doing all this stuff and running over little DBs, jumping over linebackers.
Yep.
But watch him block.
Yep.
It is unreal.
He's the strongest part of his game.
He is the best blocker on that team.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why the NFL scouts are like, no, we want him. We want a tight end who wants to block because now I can keep him in the game.
Right.
Okay. And now we can, run again. We always talk about that they're running 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends in the game. It's just outstanding where all of a sudden he's blocking and then, oh, you know what? Well, let's put him out wide on the corner who was 5'9", 190, and he's 6'3", 245. That's a problem.
That's an issue, man.
I wish he would stay, but his stock is going to be too high.
Yeah, we were down there on the sideline before the game. He was getting stretched out, doing the band stuff. I mean, and then about 5 feet away from him, I'm standing close watching. You're down there as well. There's, I believe, a scout for the 49ers, a scout for the Cardinals, a scout for the Vikings, a scout. There's like 5 scouts within 10 feet of this guy just watching him.
They're just watching him.
Just stretch.
Drooling over him. Okay, yeah, he stretches like that. He stretches the right hamstring, then he's stretching the left hamstring. Okay, we're like that.
I think we want to draft this guy, man. Hey, if he wants to come back, more power to you, Kenyon Sadiq. I'd love to have you back because he's going to have another big game today. So we'll pass along the information we know about who's in and who's out. We'll let you know some of the reporting this morning. Let's start turning our attention to Washington. Final game of the year. You end with a rivalry game. I also want to lay out some scenarios around the college football world that are at play today because of things that have happened. If Michigan beats Ohio State, for example, what does that mean for Oregon? And what does the playoff picture look like? Let's start diving into the bigger picture of things and getting ready for Oregon and Washington. We're off and running on a Saturday morning, bright and early. Thanks for being with us. We're, as always, brought to you by Frost Brew Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And Ducks Game Day hits the road when the team does with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar, the official watch party location of the University of Oregon Alumni Association. And so if you're hanging out looking for a place to watch the game today, that is the place to go. It's the official University of Oregon Alumni Association watch party. That place is going to be packed and ready for the Huskies today. Let's get back into this matchup and some playoff scenarios and Big Ten title game scenarios coming up next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
It is 45 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 49. Got a little chance of rain later this evening. Looking at a chilly overnight low of 36 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 42 and fair for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium. 46 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Are you tired of online threats? Then get an antivirus. It's the only online protection you will ever need.
Right?
Oh, no, not really. It won't stop online snoopers or block annoying ads. All big.
All right, welcome back in with the Ducks hit the road. So does Ducks Game Day with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. The big alumni watch party going out there today. Oregon and Washington, 12:30 kick on CBS on TV or, of course, right here on the Fan Sports Network and 105.1 FM. The Fan games are going to kick off here in about 40 minutes, and once they start, we'll keep you up to date on what's going on. I'll never forget being on the air this Saturday last year thinking Oregon's going to go play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game because they were both one-loss teams. And they had the type Ohio State had beaten Indiana and beaten Penn State, and so it's going to be Oregon, Ohio State, and we're on the air watching Ohio State lose at home to Michigan. I'll never forget that. And so everybody, is there a weird one again brewing in Ann Arbor? We'll let you know. That game kicks off at 9 a.m., so coming up top of the hour. Before we get into a couple of scenarios, I know people get in and out of their cars, and so you're not going to be here for the entire show, and I wanted to pass along in case you're wondering. Matt Zenitz of 24/7 Sports is reporting once again that DeCorian Moore and Gary Bryant will be out, or expected to be out, is the verbiage there for Oregon today. So your top two wide receivers, once again, not likely to be a part of the game plan. And then on the other side of it, and Jed Fish talked about this earlier in the week, their top two offensive guys, Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman, have been banged up and played very sparingly now for a while, and they are both expected to go. Now, what percentage and how much of a go are they? I don't know the answer to that, but Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman expected in the lineup, and once again, it'll be next man up for Oregon's wide receiver group that has done a phenomenal job filling in for those two studs, and as we mentioned in the last segment, Kenyon Sadiq a big part of that, but kind of more of the same today without your top two wide receivers offensively.
Well, if you're running the football, you don't really need all ththose receivers, right?
It's a good point. That's a good point.
You have to remember, there's only one football. You can't pass pass the ball to everybody. Or you can't hand the ball off to everybody.
Right.
Okay, so you just need a couple of receivers. You got a couple of tight ends, and you got a great offensive line, a few that are backups. And you have the quarterback, the most important position.
Yep.
That's what you have.
No word yet on the offensive lineman. I think I'll just go on a hunch and tell you that Harkey came back in the game after getting banged up last week. So that would tell me that he's probably okay, but you never know. And Isaiah World ended up playing, I think, a total of 16 to 18 snaps. He gutted it out, man.
He did. He was struggling.
He was not moving as much as he wanted to.
Right.
They limited his snap count. Fox Crater played great in his stead when he was out there, and we'll see. I would guess if they're playing last weekend that both tackles will be a go today, but time will tell on that. We'll let you know if we get any other information. For those wondering for rooting interest today, do you want Oregon to go to the Big Ten championship game? If the answer to that question is yes, which for some people it is not, you obviously need an Oregon win. They have to take care of business and beat Washington today in Seattle. If Michigan is to upset Ohio State in Ann Arbor, Oregon will go, if they beat Washington, Oregon will be in the Big Ten championship game because it will create tiebreaker scenarios with Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon all as one-loss teams, and Indiana would be the undefeated team. They clinched yesterday. They beat Purdue handily last night. That game was a snoozer. So you'd have a three-way tie, and Oregon would get, I don't know what, I can't remember what it is, but the Big Ten put this out, so don't even dive into the tiebreakers. That's the scenario that exists. If Michigan beats Ohio State and Oregon beats Washington, Oregon returns to the Big Ten championship game and gets a game against Indiana. The follow-up is, do you want them in the Big Ten championship?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, but when they win, the bye situation, the 4 weeks off.
I know
that's a struggle.
Yep.
Come on.
It's weird, man.
That is weird.
The other, you want a disaster scenario too. So it's just, look, I think we're in tune for a chaotic Saturday. It started last night. Texas A&M lost to Texas, right? And then we got to deal with an entire evening of everybody in the SEC bubble saying, how is Texas not a playoff team? And they beat, if we didn't schedule Ohio State, we'd be in. It's like, well, no, if you didn't lose to Florida, you'd be in. How about that? Let's start there. Florida's terrible this year. They fired their head coach. There is a disaster scenario that exists that Ohio State wins today. Oregon wins today. That means they would not go to the Big Ten championship game. It'd be Ohio State and Indiana. And Oregon somehow, if other dominoes fall, slips into the number 4 spot in the playoff picture, and then you would get a longer bye than you had last year because you wouldn't play in the Big Ten title game. So there is a small percentage chance that Oregon wins today and Ohio State wins today, and you don't play until January 1st. It is November 29th. Just wanted to throw that out there. That's how wonky all of this could be today. Now, is that likely? I think the SEC champ, we'll see how they handle conference championship weekend and all that stuff. But right now, Oregon's number 6. Yeah. Number 3 just lost. A&M just lost. I don't know where they're going to go in the rankings.
That's true.
If Oregon wins, I don't know if you jump them. If Alabama loses, I believe it's Georgia versus Ole Miss in the SEC title game.
Okay.
And I think A&M's out of the SEC title. If Alabama wins, I think it's Georgia, Alabama.
Right.
So A&M's kind of done for after losing that game to Texas. So lot at play today is what I'll say.
Yeah, good football today, so you can sit back and watch and relax. And
it was kind of a dud last weekend, no big upsets, right? Oregon USC was the big game of the weekend, and then you go into today and you see Michigan Ohio State could be crazy again because why would it not be? Alabama's got to go on the road in their rivalry Iron Bowl game tonight down at Auburn, and you always throw the records out when those teams play because it never makes any sense. So Miami's on the road at Pitt where it's freezing cold. Do you think those Miami boys love being up in that snow?
Nope.
Like, are they going to go lay an egg? Are they out of the picture? It just today could be absolutely chaotic, and it's setting up for Oregon to get back to the main point, and then we'll start diving into the matchup.
Yeah.
None of this matters.
No, it doesn't.
If you lose.
That's right.
Go take care of business today in Seattle.
That's right. So I know Dan Lanning's not sitting there talking about.
He got some big board. Where are we going to go?
He's just thinking about Washington.
Just beat the damn Huskies.
We got to beat the Huskies. Exactly right.
That's all we got to do. Speaking of which, let's start diving into the game. Some key matchups, some things to keep an eye on. Oregon is on the road in Seattle. You're going to hear from Dan Lanning. You're going to hear from Jed Fish. We'll go behind enemy lines in a little bit. Mike Jorgensen will check in live from Seattle and kind of paint the picture. It looks like the weather's going to be beautiful, although Russ will keep you up to date on that throughout the course of the morning. And Ducks Game Day, as always, hits the road when the team does with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar, the official watch party location of the University of Oregon Alumni Association. Let's start diving into the matchup of Oregon and Washington. We will do it next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
It is 45 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get a bit heavier throughout the day. A high of 49, a little chance of rain later this evening, and looking at a chilly overnight low of 36 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 43 and fair. As for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium, 47 degrees with cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Are you tired of online threats?
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Betcher lined up maybe at Wildcat. He is. Snap. Gonna keep it. Run right. Oh, no doubt. Touchdown, Bryce Betcher!
We're getting you ready for today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies on Rivalry Week. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Vic Hanna Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Langdon Farms Golf Club, Wilsonville Toyota, Mountaintop Metal Roofing, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel, Mods PDX, and Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop.
Touchdown, Oregon!
Now here's your hosts, Andy Johnson and Oregon Hall of Famer Anthony Newman on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. Ducks Game Day is always brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Andy Johnson, Anthony Newman hanging out with you. Hopefully you're bundled up, laying on your couch, maybe listening, getting ready for all the games to kick off today. Michigan, Ohio State kicking off here at 9 a.m. A handful of big games to keep an eye on at 9 a.m. So as they get started, we'll let you know how the scores are going, and we're on the air all the way until 10:30 kickoff at 12:30 between Oregon and Washington. When you look at this Washington team, Anthony, I'm curious. Here they are, 8-3, year 2 under Jed Fish. A little bit of smoke over the weekend about their head coach potentially having wandering eyes. So the latest on Lane Kiffin is that it sounds like Florida is out of the running, and he's going to decide today between Ole Miss and LSU. And that naturally led a lot of people to wonder, where does Jed Fish fall on the Florida coaching hire list, because he's a Florida alum. I think he got his start. There's actually a really good story about how he got his start when Spurrier was there. He was a student, and he put a note on Steve Spurrier's car every day for like 2 straight months. And he was just, I think he was a senior student. He wanted to get into coaching. They gave him a team, some sort of team role, right? After enough letters, they finally were like, fine, dude, stop bothering us. We'll put you on the staff. And so he's got a fun spot in his heart for Florida. Now, I don't know how much that's looming inside the locker room or how real that actually is, but when you look at this Washington team, what stands out the most to you as Oregon gets ready to head north here today to take on the Huskies?
Question mark, to be honest, with their record. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Think about who they beat. Have they beat anybody really good? I mean just
really good. No.
You talk about Purdue.
Really good.
Talking about Illinois.
Illinois probably their best win of the year, but Illinois is now 7-4, and they lost to Wisconsin last week.
Okay, Maryland, Rutgers. UC Davis. Come on. I heard this guy say this the other day. Does that tickle your plums? I mean, come on. Seriously.
That's got to be a new drop, Russ. That's right next to their doo-doo. Does that tickle their plums? That's phenomenal.
I'm stealing it from somebody else, but because I heard it, and I just cracked it. But seriously, so Washington is always dangerous. I understand. They have football players. They got a great coaching staff. But they're not the Washington of the old, okay? They're missing some guys on defense. They don't have a guy up in that front seven that just dominates, every snap.
Yeah.
They don't have that just, crazy good running back that will run down your defense and just, run right through you. The quarterback, Damon, he can play. But he's a runner. He's not a true passer. He wants to run. And guys like that can get hurt because watching the Texas A&M game last night, that quarterback for A&M, he's good, but he wants to run too much, and he's getting banged up. And then when a quarterback runs too much, he's starting to get tired. He's trying to call the plays, trying to focus, but he's exhausted.
Right, you're panting.
You're panting, and so now your technique fails when you want to throw the football down the field. When I look at this Washington team, they're playing at home. I get it. It's tough to play up in Seattle. There's no off-out lake. It's no joke. It's hard. I never won up there. Okay, and those teams were good back in the day.
Yeah.
But this Washington team is missing something. They're not the Washington of the old. Seriously. But their record shows 8-3. Wow, well, they're good.
Right.
I'm
with you.
So.
They're kind of I think a question mark is a great way to put it, because we know at certain positions how talented they can be, right? Like Denzel Boston, if he plays, he's 100% today. He's one of the best wide receivers Oregon will face all year. That dude's a stud, right? Yeah. Jonah Coleman, I don't know if he's 100%, but he can be a bowling ball downhill. Oregon bottled him up last year, but Washington's offensive line is better. Damon Williams, as you mentioned, like he's a walking highlight.
Yes,
and then there's games where you're like, there was nothing there. What the hell happened, right?
Exactly.
Like, he has games where he'll go out. He had a game against Rutgers where I think he had 300 passing yards and 150 rushing yards against Rutgers. And that's, holy smokes, that's incredible. Then the next week they go on the road to Michigan. And Michigan's a good team. They might beat Ohio State this year, but they're not a national title contender, I wouldn't argue. And in that game, he barely threw for 200 yards. He threw 3 picks, and he had 5 carries for negative 19 yards.
Yeah.
And so they've been an interesting team this year. And I think part of that is the youth that they have. They are a very young team, as is Oregon, especially with injuries. They just don't quite have the depth that Oregon does from recruiting to be able to plug holes with some of the injuries that they've had. And we'll get to their entire injury list here coming up in a little bit. But they are an interesting team, and also defensively, Jeff Schwartz had a great thread on it this week where they don't make a lot of sense, because you look at the numbers and they're not terrible in terms of total defense, run defense, and pass defense. They're in the top 6-7 of the conference, and so you're like, all right, what's the point high total they've given up this year? It's not, I don't even think they've given up more than 40 points this year, 30 points.
Right.
When they lost to Ohio State, it was 24-6. When they lost to Michigan, it was 24-7.
Right.
I think the high point total they gave up was to Illinois. It was 25 points. But then you look at things like turnovers, sacks, pressure rate, forcing punts, like some of the metrics that show how elite are you defensively, and Washington is terrible in all those categories. And so it's kind of hard to get a read on. Their defense has not been bad, but they're also not good in a lot of key indicators of your overall performance. And so it's an interesting matchup for all those reasons. But as you highlight, one of the biggest things out of all of it is the fact that you're going on the road to Seattle.
Oh, yes.
And I think the only team that's won up there in the last 3 years is the number one team in the country, and that's Ohio State, who did it earlier this year, the same day that Oregon played Penn State. And so they're very difficult to beat in Seattle. And there's a million different matchups that I want to keep an eye on. We'll start getting into that in the breakdown, which is coming up here in about 10 minutes from now. But let's hear from Jedd Fisch first. His thoughts. He's in year 2 in Washington. Will he be there for year 3 in Seattle? We don't know yet. Maybe we'll find out at the end of the weekend. What did Jedd Fisch have to say heading into this matchup? We'll start getting into more on the Huskies and go behind enemy lines. That's coming up next. When the Ducks hit the road, so does Ducks Game Day with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. Go hang out there for the official alumni watch party today for the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies. Behind enemy lines is next. First, here's Jeff Russ with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Does that tickle your plums?
It is 45 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 49. A little chance of rain later on this evening. Look at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 43 and fair for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium. 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Isaac Ropp, Langdon Farm.
Enemy lines, an inside look at the Ducks' opponent from the people who cover them.
Here's the sweep, the fly sweep, and the double. Oh, the ball's loose. Oregon might have a chance and will get on it back at the 23-yard line.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, we'll get into some matchup breakdowns coming up in a couple of minutes. Things to keep an eye on for Oregon to do today to get a win over Washington. Andy Dur Johnson, Anthony Newman hanging out with you. Happy Saturday morning. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving and you're not too fat. Unlike us, you didn't put on too many pounds over the last 48 hours. We'll put some more on today. You know, hey,
yes.
Being healthy will start tomorrow, all right? It's game day, baby.
Or maybe the next day after that.
Yeah, maybe Monday. We'll get to it Monday.
We're good.
Next weekend, fine. We'll get to it after Christmas, all right? January 1st, new year, new me. Let's go behind enemy lines. Jedd Fisch in year 2 in Seattle. The game was not kind to him in his first matchup in the rivalry last year. Oregon dominated Washington. They had 10 sacks, I believe, in the game, if my memory serves me right. Just 8. That was DeMond Williams' first start, and he showed some flashes, but Oregon's defense just absolutely dominated the game. Their offense wasn't too shabby either. Jedd Fisch, though, talked this week about the rivalry and what Oregon does well.
Besides the obvious, which is the quarterback, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback's different, but the quality of the quarterback's the same. You know, they're both NFL quarterbacks that are exceptional. I would say their defense is a year older. You know, it's the same edge rushers that they had a year ago. They're just a year older. Their safety that they got from Purdue that played for Coach Walters, I think is outstanding. They have a freshman corner that is elite. I thought they had really good corners a year ago. They have a ton of depth, you know, where I see that Oregon has separated themselves in a lot of ways in comparison to a lot of teams is their depth. Their roster is national. They have a ton of players from I brought it up in our meeting when we were looking at they got 2 guys from Maryland, 2 guys from Texas, guy from Indianapolis, a guy from LA. They're kind of all over the place. They're able to recruit nationally, and they've signed a ton of high quality players. So it is going to be an all-day sucker on Saturday.
I like that.
You're not taking the Mike Gundy playbook. Why couldn't you throw a little red meat out there,
really,
Jed? These guys y'all be paid $20 million for your roster. Is what you get. Yeah, that'd be nice. Very complimentary from Fish. He understands the challenge that he is facing today. One aspect we talked about there in that last segment is Oregon having to go on the road, right? You mentioned Seattle, and I wanted to ask you some of your memories of playing up there because the rivalry was a little bit different back then, right? During your days, it was Oregon had not quite flipped things yet against the Huskies.
Well, it's funny. I grew up in the Northwest, so playing in Seattle, it was always cold. It was cold here in Oregon, but for some reason it was colder.
Yeah.
It was colder up there playing off the lake. It's just, and you're getting your butt whipped. And they were very physical.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my guys next to me going, you want to finish this game? Or what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here.
It's time to go.
Bullpen. You need a reliever? I'm coming out of this sucker. Speaking of being able to go on the road, it's one thing that I think for Oregon this year, they have been battle-tested on the road. They had to go on the road to Penn State, which, nobody wants to count that as a big win, but it's still in front of 100,000 people in one of the toughest environments in the sport. You had to go on the road to Iowa, play their game in an ugly weather game, right? Find a way to grit it out and win. So they've been battle tested on the road. Here's Dan Lanning on his team handling moments like that in adversity on the road.
This is one of the best environments that we'll get to play in. I think it's obviously special, especially for this game. There'll be a lot of chaos, within this game, but it's kind of like walking into the middle of a storm. There's calm within that chaos right in the middle of it. So we have to go attack it, be ready for that moment. These guys are excited about that opportunity. We like playing in hostile environments. This will certainly be one this weekend.
Yeah, so they've done it this year, and it's going to be another one today because this is Washington's Super Bowl essentially. This is the end of their year. They're not going to a playoff. They're not going to a conference title game. So how they put a feather in their cap of their season is saying, hey, we went 9-3 and we knocked Oregon potentially out of the playoff, right?
That's right.
This is it for them. Oregon's got more things if they win to look forward to after this game. Washington, you go to a bowl game. I'm not saying you're not going to go to a bowl game, but that just adds a different layer to it on what Oregon's going to have to face today on the road. As we start to look at the matchup for Washington and dive into what it's going to take in order to win, one of the keys for me will be who's at center, and if it is Charlie Pickard, he played great last week. How does he handle this environment that we're talking about? Because you mentioned how difficult it is to play there.
Yeah.
It's one thing to come in and be calling checks when you're at home and the crowd is quiet and it's, everybody's, it's like church, right? And everybody's doing that in the stands.
Right.
That's not going to be quite the case when Oregon is on offense today. Now, I have no word on Poncho and nobody has reported anything yet. So we'll see. Maybe he can go. He was begging to get back into the game last week. If he does, maybe this is a moot point. But there is the potential that Oregon's having to play on the road with a backup center. And as you point out often, Anthony, they are in charge of everything on the offensive line.
Yes,
and so he's got to make sure he's ready to go in a difficult environment to communicate because he might be in charge of all the checks at the line of scrimmage.
But I will say this. It's harder for a backup. And, you're watching a game, you're on the sideline, and then the guy in front of you goes down. You have to jump in right away and start playing in the second quarter. Like, whoa, I'm not prepared for this. Even though it was at home. When you have a week to prepare as the starter, that's a different story.
Yep.
And understanding, yes, I'm going to go into an area, a situation where it's going to be very loud and all that, but I have my guard tapping me, I have my quarterback tapping me, let me know when to snap the ball, all those things. But at the same time, he's had a week to get himself right, unlike when all of a sudden you're just thrown into the game and you got to take over.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I thought that showed with Fox Crater last week, too, because they knew World got banged up evidently the first play of the Minnesota game the week before. Got rolled up on. He played through it the entire game. Nobody really I didn't notice it. I don't know if you did, but I didn't see it when it happened at the time because he played fine. There wasn't any sort of issue there, right? But they had an entire week, to your point, to get him ready. They knew Fox was likely going to have to play a lot of snaps.
That's right.
And I do think that helps a ton, and so we'll see how they handle those calls and checks at the line of scrimmage. Oregon was great from a procedural standpoint when they went on the road to Penn State. There weren't any issues, and the communication was great. And the tap, as you mentioned, the silent count, it worked great. So they've done it before this year. You might have to do it again. One other thing I want to ask you about in terms of the environment. we saw last week, now, Oregon and USC is going to get feisty, right? Like the Ducks versus them video comes out, and you saw the Dan Lanning pregame speech of their, he got everybody going, right?
Yeah.
Great speech. USC fans got butthurt about that, which I don't understand why. Welcome to what Dan Lanning does before games. Coaches motivate their teams, okay? But one thing that I do have circled today is there were times last week where I didn't agree with the call, but also it was one of those, like, once balls and strikes are set and that you know what the strike zone is, you got to play by that strike zone. And there were moments where Oregon players went over the top. I didn't agree with the Malik Benson one, but there had been a couple other personal fouls leading into that. You had, I think it was the Dave Iuli jumping on a pile a little late. You got a 15-yarder. And so I'm curious how they're going to handle. That's a home game. The emotions are flying high in this one, man. They know what this game means. The crowd's going to be yelling at you and down your throat, the entire game. That there's a fine line between playing with that psychotic edge and also not going too far to do something to hurt your football team.
Well, for me, speaking as a coach, you have to tell those players, you can't be an individual here. You can't think about you. And that's what happens when these guys do something that they shouldn't be doing, jumping on the pile late, pushing somebody off, saying something to someone. You're thinking about yourself because it only hurts the team. And it doesn't hurt you, it hurts the team. And so, I'm a coach that's like, hey, okay, if you're doing that, you're not playing. Get off the field. You're not thinking about us. You're thinking about you. And this is a we game. We need to play as a team. Yeah. So and it's you're giving them something. It's hard to beat them one-on-one, face to face. Right. But don't give them something. Right. You gave them the bat. Now they're gonna hit you with the bat you gave them. I'm like, come on. It doesn't make any sense. So just think about, all your buddies around you, they need you. But they need you to be on point. You have to take care of business when the whistle blows and then walk away. Yeah. And it's when your emotions are flowing. And now as a player, I got penalized a lot.
I know exactly where they're coming from.
I know where they're
now
coming
you got
from.
The coach hat on.
I got the coach hat on.
Think about the team. Come on, man.
It's a different story. But, I was playing, so I was thinking about it.
Well, I think that sums up perfectly how hard it is, right? I mean, there's just so many emotions in big games like this. You make a big play, and it's hard. I'm sure your heart's pounding. You're beating. I mean, you're not thinking clearly.
No,
you're not. You're getting into somebody's face, and you're a kid. You're a 19, 20-year-old kid, right? So. Yeah. I'm hoping that they can at least learn on the experience of last week. They just went through this, right? It was an emotional game, a rivalry game of two, former Pac-12 teams. And in the second half, they were a lot better than they were in the first half. I thought they did a good job cleaning that up as the game went on. But you got to keep that all in check today. Oregon in Seattle. I'm sure the crowd will have nothing but nice things to say to them. This is one trip. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of Duck fans going up. This is one I don't want to do anymore. I've been to a couple of Oregon-Washington games in Seattle, and
exactly right.
I've checked it off my bucket list. Now I'm done.
I'm done with that.
I'm not going.
That's not a good place to go.
I do have family in Seattle though, and they bring nothing up sports related of anything Washington unless they win the game today, and then they'll send me a bunch of texts like, I haven't heard from you in 2 years, man. Where the hell you been? Nice. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. How about one of those first, right? All right, let's start getting into the matchup. What are some things to keep an eye on for Oregon to do well or to slow down for Washington? I'll circle one thing, and I'm curious how Anthony feels about it. We'll start diving into the breakdown. That is coming up next. As always, when the Ducks hit the road, so does Ducks Game Day with Grand Central Bull Arcade and Sports Bar, the official watch party location of the University of Oregon Alumni Association. Will be packed and pumping over there for the Oregon-Washington game. Let's get to the breakdown. That is next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
It is 45 and fair here in Portland. Clouds will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 49. Got a little chance of rain later on this evening. Looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 43 and fair. As for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium, 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
The matchups, players, and position groups that will impact the game. It's time for the breakdown. Brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. When you think of flavor, think of Victor Rico's.
Fade run out to the left. Was it caught? It was! Touchdown! Evan Stewart.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Michigan, Ohio State getting closer to kicking off in Ann Arbor. If you're a fan of snow football, it is supposed to snow in Ann Arbor today. Just seems fitting, right? Or Michigan, Ohio State, the colors,
Always.
the stadiums, cold weather,
Freezing.
early morning. You get a little snow mixed in there. It should be a fun one. And I imagine that Ohio State fans are going to handle everything rationally today. You know, it's not like they'll panic or freak out if they are to lose today. Let's start getting into the breakdown of this matchup brought to you by Victoricos. I'm going to circle one thing, Anthony, and it's funny how the synergy kind of goes from where we started the show. And we opened it talking about Oregon's defensive performance against USC. And we knew USC, that's the best passing attack Oregon will face likely all season, even going into the playoff, right? You're talking NFL wide receivers, quarterback that can sling
That's
it.
right.
They're one of the best passing offenses in the country. What Oregon did was made them one-dimensional. And they essentially said, if you're going to hit chunk plays, that's fine. But those are not a high-percentage play or a high-percentage throw. We're not going to let you pick up 5-6 yards of carry on the ground and beat us in multiple ways. When I look at Washington this year, they have lost 3 games. The Wisconsin game I kind of throw out. That was a bad weather game. They played terribly. I don't know how much we can read into that. The 2 times they've played, quote-unquote, national title contending rosters, if you will, or top end of the Big Ten talent rosters in Ohio State and Michigan, I'm going to give you 2 stat lines. They played Ohio State at home back in, early October, I believe, the same day the Oregon-Penn State game. In that game, Washington had 30 carries for 61 yards. Jonah Coleman, their top back, 13 carries for 70, although 35 of that came on 1 carry. So he had 1 run of 35 yards and then 12 carries of 35 yards. DeMond Williams in that game did not have a run longer than 10 yards. He did take some sack yardage. They went on the road to Michigan a couple weeks after that. And when they played the Wolverines in Ann Arbor, tell me if this sounds familiar, right? They tried to run the football against Michigan. In that game, their rushing attack was 23 carries for 40 yards for a 1.7 yard per carry average. They did not score more than 7 points in either of those games. And when I look at the breakdown, we talked about it in the open. I think the biggest, if Oregon finds a way to bottle up Washington's run game with their front 7, I don't really care that Denzel Boston is back. You're not going to be able to beat Oregon with one hand tied behind your back, if you will.
Again, you always need to take away the running game. You know, Jonah Coleman can run the football, but he's got a leg brace on that looks like a cast. It's gigantic. So, he's not 100%, but you have to start there. And then when you have a pass rush, with DeMond Williams, it has to be controlled because this kid wants to run. So you got to keep him in the pocket. He's 5'11", 5'10". So he's trying to look among the trees. Keep him in the pocket. Once he gets out of the pocket, he becomes dangerous. Then the receivers have more time to get open. They're not the regular routes. They're just out there running street ball stuff. It's also important to understand, don't give up the explosion play. Let Washington try to have a 12-play drive. Because I don't think they can sustain that. In 12 plays, go down and score. Most teams can't. And Washington doesn't have the running game to do that. So if you control the running game, you don't give up the explosion plays. The receivers are going to get theirs. The quarterback's going to get his. They're good football players. The offensive line is okay, but it starts in the running game. And the 2 games that they lost, right, they didn't run the football. They couldn't run the football. And when you take away that, now you have to pass the ball all the time, and that becomes a problem for an offense.
To your point, too, on making them go 10, 12 plays, I totally agree with that because Washington at times has been a team they do stupid stuff. Now, a lot of college teams do, right? You're talking about kids, and there's dumb mistakes that happen, but they'll snap the ball over the quarterback's head from time to time. They had a play in the Wisconsin game that they did lose. That part of the reason they lost that game was because DeMond Williams was scrambling around inside his own 10-yard line, and he fumbled the ball trying to escape pressure. And so they just little plays like that throughout the year where they just they lose focus and do something dumb, and then it ends up biting them. So that's kind of been who the Huskies have been at times this year. And so to your point, make them go 12 plays, and eventually maybe the odds tell you one of those plays will be a mistake from Washington, right?
That's right.
And they'll do something to beat themselves. I want to get into the offensive side of this on the other side because we talked about briefly Washington's defense and the numbers behind it. I'll give you the numbers, and then we'll get into what does Oregon have to do offensively in order to get going today as the breakdown brought to you by Victoricos continues after this on 105.1 FM The Fan.
$5,000. That's the average amount.
reaches back, grabs that ball, rolls in. Touchdown, Oregon.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. Happy Oregon Ducks Game Day to you. Oregon, Washington, 12:30, right here on the Fan. You can watch it on CBS. I think this is the final Gary Danielson call, or maybe he'll do a bowl game too, or Big Ten. I don't know if they have the Big Ten title game or not this year. For some, that's a good thing, but Gary Danielson, their color analyst, is hanging him up. He's been doing it for a long time. As we look at the offensive side of the ball, Anthony, I loved your point last segment on Damon Williams and trying to bottle him up, right? He's a guy that you want to, as an undersized quarterback, make him beat you from the pocket.
Yes.
Don't let him get out in open space, use his legs. And also, I think Oregon's defensive line has done a really good job where at times we're acting as if they're not having a good rush, but teams are releasing the ball really quickly. So it's not a lot of time to get there. But Oregon's also done a really good job getting their hands up at times, batting balls down.
There you go.
And that could be a huge key today against an undersized defense. When you look offensively for you, and we'll get to the keys of the game in a moment. That's coming up next. So I don't want to use any ammunition you have for that segment. But is it just as simple as run the football today?
Yes.
Just be physical, be the better team at the line of scrimmage, and let's run the rock?
It's a cold day. You know, you run the football. When you run the football and you control the clock and you keep Washington's offense off the field, it becomes a long day for Washington's defense. It really does. They have to stop the run, and the running game for Oregon is really good. But, when you look at the numbers for Washington, they're not bad. They only give up 107 yards per game. Again, in the passing, they only give up, 205 yards per game. But it goes back to who did they play?
Yeah.
And they haven't really played anybody. So those numbers are kind of skewed. But at the same time, you're playing at their place. You're playing at their house. They're getting up for the game. There was one, I did have a question with when teams are trying to figure out if my coach is coming back or not. Does that play a factor in the game?
Every team is going to handle it differently. That's the tough part about it.
Yes.
Because we've seen teams that crumble. And then yesterday, Ole Miss is going through all this. Now, Mississippi State's not very good, but they blew Mississippi State out yesterday.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted all week is just going to be a distraction for them, and it was
it
never
was
in doubt.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
I think that, but this game is the rival game that they're not thinking about that. The Washington players are like, no, let's go win this game. Let's go ruin it for Oregon.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to really focus and let people know we got to take care of business. We might not go anywhere, but they're not going anywhere either.
Yeah.
We're going to knock them out.
It's a proud moment in a rivalry game, man. Nobody will ever forget as an Oregon fan the 2008 Civil War where Oregon State fans were standing in the stands and they had the roses in their mouth and they just needed to beat Oregon to go to the Rose Bowl for the first time in however long it was. And Oregon went in there and hung 60 on them. Nobody will ever forget. I mean, that's one of the best feelings of a rivalry game where, hey, we don't have anything to play for, but to your point, we're going to ruin your damn season,
That's
man.
right.
And it feels great when you do it.
That's right.
And so that's a big motivator. To your point on running the ball on Washington, when they played their two best teams this year, Ohio State and Michigan, Ohio State was 34 carries for 149 yards, so about 4.5 yards per carry. Michigan in Ann Arbor, running the ball on them was 40 carries for 187 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. In those games, in the Michigan game, they were outrushed 187 to 40. In the Ohio State game, they were outrushed 149 to 61. So let's lead that into the keys of the game because I imagine that'll be a big key to the game today. The breakdown brought to you by Victoricos. As always, this weekend at Victoricos, get a free burrito when you grab a $35 gift card. Share the flavor, spread the joy. 19 locations across Oregon and Washington. When you think of flavor, think of Victoricos. Some restrictions may apply. Let's get to the keys of the game for Oregon and Washington. That is coming up next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
It is 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get a bit heavier throughout the day with a high of 49. Got a little chance of rain later this evening. Look at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 44 and partly cloudy for the 12:30 kick. 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rest with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Your home for What will drive the Ducks to victory today?
Throws it downfield, and it was intercepted. It was picked. Down the right side, 5-3-2. Did he get there? No, not quite. Dante Manning with the interception.
Brought to you by Wilsonville Toyota. One person, one price. No bull.
All right, welcome back in. Let's get to our keys to the game. Ohio State, Michigan about to kick off about 10 minutes from now in Ann Arbor. We got Miami about to get underway in Pitt, so we'll keep you up to date on those games and anything else going on here this morning. What a day of football. The fun. Man, every year too quick. I'm sitting around watching football yesterday, and I'm like, I was going to turn off the Arizona State game last night, and I thought, how many? I don't know. This is almost done.
That's right.
I'm gonna keep watching this game,
over.
Man. I gotta soak this up while it's still here. It just flies by every year.
Yes, it does.
As we look to the keys of the game, Anthony, I'll let you start, and you can choose whatever you want. Go off of what we were just talking about in the last segment, but Oregon needing to do. What does Oregon need to do to get a win today in Seattle?
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah,
run the football.
Run the football.
Yeah. Run the football. Oregon has 3 good running backs. They got a good offensive line, a great offensive line, and a quarterback who can throw the football as well. But I got another one for you.
Yeah, what else you got?
This one's new. Okay. Oregon's receivers need to separate and get open down the field because they will have time. Washington's defense, they do not put pressure on the quarterback. They don't have hardly any sacks. There's no pressure. Dante Moore is going to have time to throw the football. So when a quarterback has time to throw the football, that means the receivers need to separate. They need to get open. They need to find that hole in the defense. And if they do that, then the passing game is going to be unreal.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot of time for Dante to throw the football.
And there was last week, and they took advantage of it, man.
Yes.
I'll on the run game point, too, this is a team that I think when they lost to Indiana, and Indiana is a really good team. I don't mean this as any disrespect to them. I think it was a wake-up call for Oregon about the line of scrimmage play and what it takes in order to win.
That's right.
They had handled the line of scrimmage well, and they were the better team against Penn State on the road. And then Indiana came in, and they bullied them at the point of attack.
They did.
And I think that was a wake-up call for them, and you saw a concerted effort to make that a focal point when they went on the road to Iowa this last week against USC. They knew we're more physical than you.
Yes.
And I think to the point on running the football, there's almost just a mentality there of you know what we're going to do, and you can't stop it because we're bigger than you and we're stronger than you.
That's right.
So that'll be, to me, I'm with you 100%. The biggest key in the game is, can Oregon out? I mean, they outrushed USC by 100-plus yards last week, right?
Really?
And you win the game by 15 points. And so if you outrush Washington by 100-plus yards today, I have a very hard time seeing the Huskies winning this game.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously the biggest thing to circle. The only other thing I'll throw in there, because I love the time to throw in Dante and all that, and receivers getting open downfield. It's just it's as simple as turnovers. Things can get wonky when you're on the road, and you saw that pick early in the second half. Oregon's defense did a pretty good job not letting the dam break when Oregon's offense started the second half slow.
Right.
Dante's been great at protecting the football in the majority of the year. That's not been an issue for him, but it's just one of those things, like it's a neutralizer of talent, where Oregon is the more talented team, but you're already playing on the road, and now, hey, if you fumble here or throw a pick there, or you're in the red zone, you don't score there, like all of a sudden that stuff snowballs, and you're like, wait, why are we in a one-score game in the fourth quarter? It's like, well, because you're in the 20-yard line twice, you turn it over, you didn't score. So be clean with the football. That's my only other key. That's really all. If Oregon does those things, I think they're feeling pretty good about their ability to win today. Protect the football and run the football, man. I'm sure Jorgie will give us the same thing. What do they need to do today? Run the ball.
Yes, he is.
As Jorgie always loved to say. Let's start getting into the Big Ten and what's going on around the conference as Charles Woodson is about to raise a big flag there at the Big House. Michigan and Ohio State just about to kick off on Fox. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on in that one from Ann Arbor. Again, if you're wondering, if Oregon has to win today, and if they do in Seattle, they'll know the outcome because this game will be over by the time they start. If Michigan beats Ohio State and Oregon wins, Oregon is in the Big Ten Championship playing Indiana. And you get a rematch against that Hoosier team that I was just talking about. So a lot on the line for everybody today, including Oregon. Massive final week of the regular season. The keys of the game driven by Wilsonville Toyota, simplifying the buying process. One person, one price, no bull. WilsonvilleToyota.com. You're going to hear from Dan Lanning coming up in a little bit, but let's take a look around the Big Ten and what's going on in the conference and the world of college football. That is next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
It is 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get a bit heavier throughout the day with a high of 49. Got a little chance of some rain later on this evening. And looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it is 44 and partly cloudy for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium. 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Big matchups, big plays. It's time to take a look at the scoreboard around the Big Ten and the rest of college football. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
It is so funny how you get these big games, and look, Ohio State, Michigan. I don't know about you. What's your favorite rivalry in college football? Obviously, excluding the Ducks. Can't count a Duck rivalry. What's your favorite non-Oregon rivalry? Is it this one?
To be honest, this one.
It has to be,
yeah,
right?
It is. It runs some, I get a little chills, some chills watching this. I mean, watching these guys come out, they know it's a big game.
Yeah.
The stadium is packed. The atmosphere, you got all the ex-stars showing up on the sideline, yeah. Tom Brady, Charles Woodson. I mean, what, come on. I mean, this is unreal.
It is so fun. And I think it's great for every generation, right? Because when you're a kid growing up watching a sport, every rivalry is relevant. For me, at least in my childhood, that was, David Boston versus Charles Woodson, right? And so as a kid, exactly. I'm like 8 years old watching Woodson return a punt. And so it's the biggest game, it feels like, every year. But that's the way Michigan, Ohio State's been forever. And so I'm with you. It's funny, too, when you look at, as we start looking into the Big Ten, because this is the biggest game in the conference today, there's no doubt. Can Ohio State end their 4-game losing streak to Michigan? The psychology behind it cracks me up. So Ohio State can't beat – they won a national title last year, but they cannot beat Michigan. It's one of the most head-scratching losses I've ever seen in my entire life, them losing to that Michigan team at home last year. Still does not make any sense. They have changed everything about their protocol and the way that they go about their game day plans. They always bus up to Ann Arbor because it's a pretty short bus trip. This year, you know what they did? We're flying. And same as any other week. Like, they won't do they block out all the Michigans in the facility. It's just so funny, the little edges that they're trying to find, because Anthony, cannot wrap their heads around why they can't beat them. How? And I can't either. Why can't they beat Michigan? They're better. They're better again this year.
It's the rival game. Yeah, you're right.
You can't put your finger on it.
No, you can't. No.
They're the number one team in the country. They're undefeated. They're talent. I mean, they're significantly better than Michigan in almost every category.
It shouldn't be close.
It shouldn't be close.
No, it shouldn't.
And then you lose last year, and you're like, wait a minute, what? And then they go on to win the national title. So it's always forgotten, because if they wouldn't, Ryan Day might have been fired because he lost this game 4 straight times.
Yeah, I know.
And that's how crazy they are up there. So your guess is as good as mine on what the hell is going to happen in this game, but we will keep you up to date as it goes. Michigan, Ohio State, they're just about to get started there in Ann Arbor. Let's take a look around the rest of the Big Ten. A couple of games, by the way, underway. Texas Tech is at West Virginia. They are scoreless early, and Miami and Pitt are scoreless early in the first quarter, but that's not in the Big Ten. Elsewhere in the Big Ten, not really anything else that matters today. I got to be honest with you. Iowa beat Nebraska, and so Matt Rule, again, cannot beat Iowa at the end of the year. They gave him a massive contract extension that now will cost them north of $70 million if they want to fire him.
Oh.
He went 7-5 and lost 40-16 at home to Iowa. You give up 40 points to Iowa, you're doing something wrong.
What?
Indiana killed Purdue yesterday, surprising no one. They improved to 12-0, and they are in the Big Ten title game. The scenarios, again, are if Oregon wins and Michigan wins, then Oregon goes. If Ohio State beats Michigan today, then it will be Ohio State versus Indiana. If Michigan is to win and Washington is to win, you know who goes to the Big Ten title game? Michigan does. If Oregon loses in Seattle and Michigan pulls off this upset, it will be Michigan versus Indiana in the Big Ten title game. So a lot on the line today around the conference. Nothing. I mean, look, UCLA, USC, who cares? Northwestern Illinois is at 4:30 on Fox, whatever. Jonathan Smith might go 0-9 in Big Ten play. They host Maryland today. They're 1-7. Combined one conference win between Maryland and Michigan State. That's at 4 o'clock on FS1. Penn State is on the road at Rutgers. We'll see what happens there. 12:30 kick on the Big Ten Network. And then Wisconsin and Minnesota is a 12:30 kick on FS1. So that's what's going on around the conference today. And to be honest with you, the only game that matters is this one. Well, and Oregon, obviously, is a massive game. But outside of the Oregon game, the only one that matters is this one. Michigan, Ohio State. And it's about to kick off in Ann Arbor. Let's hear from the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning. That is coming up next when the Ducks hit the road. So does Ducks Game Day with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. It's the official watch party location of the University of Oregon Alumni Association. Will be awesome today, packed. Everybody will be out there cheering on the Ducks as they take on the Huskies at 12:30. Dan Lanning, hear from him next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
At
with Isaac and Suk.
We don't make excuses. No, it was we were good to go. It was a fun game to play.
It's the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Philbrook Law, Accident and Injury Lawyers, your local law team.
Touchdown, Oregon!
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. Michigan, Ohio State underway. And just as we mentioned, not knowing what to expect, the first play of the game, Michigan just broke a 30-yard run on Ohio. How many runs do you think Ohio State's defense has given up longer than 30 yards the entire season?
None. Oh,
they are two plays. They are inside the 30-yard line on Ohio State's defense. Man, this is going to be fun today. Well, I promise you we won't do play-by-play for the next hour and 15 minutes, but I can't. This is going to be a fun one.
Up to 10% growth.
Hey, you playing me off here, Russ? You want me to just watch the game? I'll watch the game if you want me to.
Palms up.
Yeah. Who did that? What me, man? So we'll let you know Michigan scores. They got the ball to start there against Ohio State. A lot on the line for everybody today, especially those two. Let's hear from the head coach, Dan Lanning. Are we ready to do this, Russ? We fired up? Okay, so this is Dan Lanning this week. You know, he's had some quotes and some comments about the rivalry, and he had a great line about, you know, I think about them a lot, man. I've lost my first 3 games against this team. And he's an ultra-competitive dude, and so you know that's lingering around in his head. Here is Dan Lanning this week at his weekly press conference previewing the Oregon and Washington game.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of the same messaging from that standpoint of go out there and do your job is the best way you can control. And I know that our guys are going to be a high level of emotion in this game. They're going to have that. But it's definitely an important rivalry to us. This game means a lot. It's probably the number one question I get asked when I'm out on the road with donors and support groups and talking about our university is about this game. It's one that I struggled with early on when I was here. You know, to start, they had some success against us, so it means a lot to me. It's one that I want to have success in, and they're well coached. I mean, Jed does a good job. They have good players. They've done a really good job in talent evaluation. Their quarterback's playing as well as anybody right now. Got good wideouts, got good back. I know they've been a little banged up. It sounds like they're getting healthy, similar to us. You know, we've been banged up. So ultimately, though, you see a complete team, you know, and then two fan bases that don't like each other, which makes it fun.
Yeah, man, to say the least, right? A lot goes into this one, and I don't know how you feel. It's been weird and unique, where part of me loves it and part of me hates it. The fact that this game's now after Thanksgiving, right? I mean, this is a massive rivalry game, and so it fits with the current landscape. It's also weird this week not playing Oregon State because anybody who's been around long enough, this is always the Civil War,
right?
And the week after Thanksgiving, and you see your relatives and your friends around the holiday, and you're trash talking about the game. Ironically, I did have to spend Thanksgiving with the Huskies, so that was a little icy there. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. No Huskies in my house.
Should have vetoed that bad boy,
no
right?
Huskies in my house.
But it is, you know, it's one that means a ton, and it's a game that Lanning struggled with. I mean, they lost the first year in Eugene. Penix came down and beat him. The next year, we'll never forget, 2 of the most painful losses Oregon's gone through in Seattle and then in the Pac-12 title game. He kills them last year. This one I feel like is important to him because he's now gotten a win over Washington, but that team sucked last year. This is a team that people they're coming in as only a 6-point favorite. Washington's won 8 games. If they win it, they get to 9. This is not you just cruise into the game and blow them out like you did last year, and it's on the road in Seattle. And so I'd imagine that's important for Lanning to check those boxes of, 1, beating a good Washington team, but 2, doing it in Seattle in that place, which hasn't been kind to him.
Well, you know, Dan Lanning is very important for this win for Oregon because he's going to get the kids ready. And I always say this, coaches coach, players play. Players have to make the plays on the field. They have to execute. We can have a great game plan, but if the kids don't execute, it's not the coach's fault, it's the player's fault. But at the same time, the coaches have to make sure the kids understand that, hey, you're about to get into a game that this team can play. You understand that you're going up to their house. You know, you're knocking on their door. They're going to open the door for you. You can let you in. They're going to, close the door and lock it and say, let's go. Dan Lanning is the type of guy that the kids will do anything he says. These players believe in him, and you have to have a coach that can connect to the kids, that they bond to the kids, and not all these coaches can do that.
Nope.
Dan Lanning is one. So during the week, I guarantee you, he was getting these kids ready to play this football game.
Yeah.
He was making sure that they understood the challenge that's ahead of them. Going, hey, this team will bite you. This team will hurt you if you don't pay attention. If you take care of business like you can, it shouldn't be a problem. but it's always going to be a problem up there because we're going to their house up in Seattle against a very good football team.
Oregon hasn't won up there in a while, so that would be a nice one for Lanning. I'm with you 100%. His job to connect to his players and to get them ready to go was on full display last week. Sometimes you worry you get a big emotional win like they got against USC. Well, is there going to be a letdown the next week? It helps when you're playing Washington. I don't think there'll be any letdown from an emotional standpoint.
No.
From Oregon, and if to further that point, we didn't pull it. We're not going to play it. But if you want to hear a player talk about what Dan Lanning means to them, go look up Noah Woodington's post-game press conference last week, where he talked about, he started his career at Western Kentucky, and he basically said the head coach didn't even know who the hell I was, didn't know my name, didn't know anything about me. And to talk about the relationship he has with Lanning and the way he cares about him as a person and as a player, it's on display, right, when it is. And so I'm 100% with you. They're going to play hard for him today. The Coach's Corner brought to you by Philbrook Law. Other lawyers fight for clicks. Philbrook Law fights for wins. Philbrook Law accident and injury lawyers, your local law team. Obviously couldn't do the normal hit with Lanning this week on Isaac and Suk because it was Thanksgiving. And so we'll see how that shakes out in the weeks to come, and depending on when Oregon is playing their next game. A lot to be decided today on the road in Seattle. No Nimick today either, but we will give you a brief look at recruiting and what's going on there, including one major flip target for the Ducks heading into National Signing Day, which, believe it or not, is like 4 or 5 days away. So it's right around, I think it's on Wednesday. So it's right around the corner, National Signing Day. We'll talk a little recruiting. We'll do that next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Is your
It is 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 49. A little chance of rain later on this evening. Looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. Meantime, in Seattle, it's 44, partly cloudy for the 12:30 kick on Montlake, 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks at Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light, choose chill. Celebrate responsibly on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, let's talk a little recruiting, usually with Andrew Nimick, but he's a no-go this weekend. He did the 5A state championship game. LO ended up winning that thing yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They killed him.
They were going to win it. I mean,
they dominated them in the regular season, right?
Yeah, if we'd have won our game against Central Catholic and go against the championship in that championship game against LO, that would have been a tough task.
Would have been a fun battle.
Yeah, that their LO was ready.
Yeah,
they were ready.
End of the season, great. Congrats to LO on winning the title.
Steve Corey is a great coach. You know, he finally. I think the last time he won is 2018.
That's been a while then.
So yeah, it's been a little bit. Yeah, so that's nice. You know, he's a great coach. Congrats to him.
Yeah. So Nimick was calling that game with swag yesterday. They did a good job on the CW. Before we talk about recruiting, quick score updates around the country. Miami and Pitt scoreless about halfway through the first quarter, a little over halfway. Miami's got the ball around midfield, a 2nd and 12. Michigan has scored on their opening drive. It was a field goal, so Ohio State held them down once they got inside the 30-yard line. They're about to kick off to Ohio State. It is 3-0 Michigan early on in Ann Arbor over the Buckeyes. As we take a look at recruiting, this is the weird thing about college football. National Signing Day is this week. It's here. Season's ending. Oh, here we go. All right. It used to always be February back when we were younger, and when I was younger at least, and February kind of built up. February, big signing day. That's when it was in the middle of the offseason. Now it's right in the most important time of your year.
Right.
So have fun with that, coaches, this week, trying to lock down these recruiting guys.
Yeah.
That's another benefit of Oregon not playing in the Big Ten title game is it gets landing out on the road all week to lock up some of these guys.
Right.
To my knowledge, now Oregon, when you look at the recruiting class, it is remarkable. In terms of just the talent composite of it. So Oregon only has currently 18 commits for their, and you can look at different sites who have different rankings and all that. But if you just go kind of generic, balance the rankings together, it is remarkable. They only have 18 commits, and with 19, excuse me, that's good for a top 5 recruiting class in the country. USC, as example, is number 1. They have 34 commits. They have 15 more players committed than you. The average ranking per recruit for Oregon, now these are grades that they give players, is 94.08. That is number 1 in all of college football in terms of the average rating of the recruit that you're bringing in. There's nobody else. They're above a 94. There's only one other team that's above a 93, and it's LSU.
Yeah.
So it just shows you the overall talent that they're bringing into this class. The good news that Oregon has gotten recruiting this week is that I believe all their 5-stars, and they have 4 of them committed, have all shut down their recruitment in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
All have come out and said, nope, we're not taking any other visits. We will sign on Wednesday. One major guy to keep an eye on, and it's a name that's out there because when you look at the player rankings, he's one of the best in the country. It's also a name that people will remember if you're football fans. Chris Henry Jr. His dad was Chris Henry, who tragically passed away. One of the highest-rated players in the entire country and one of the highest-rated wide receivers in the entire country. He has been committed to Ohio State forever.
Right.
And there is a lot of chatter right now that Oregon is efforting to pull off a flip there at the last second. He's a top 30 player in the country, 5-star wide receiver, number 2 wide receiver, I believe, in the country, according to multiple outlets. Circle that name. That's one. He's been committed to Ohio State for a long time. We know Lanning, though, loves to turn some surprises on the week of signing day.
It's crazy what Dan Lanning has done with recruiting, and it's been every year. He's been very consistent, and that's the key. Sometimes teams will have a good year recruiting, they get some top guys, and the next year it's so.
Yeah.
Every year has been top notch, and that's why when you look at these Ducks and they're playing, and guys are hurt, and the backups are going in, they're still playing at a high level.
Yeah,
because they were 4 stars or 5 stars, and it's hard to keep guys, in this program. Because a lot of guys, hey, you're bringing in a 5-star, it's time for me to go. I'm taking off.
Yeah.
I won't play
I'm going
here.
to go play somewhere else.
But Oregon's bringing in a 5-star. They keep bringing in 5 stars, 4 stars. And when you talk about bringing guys in, it's not the amount, okay? It's who they are. They're bringing in 5-star. They don't need all they need is maybe 18 5-star players. you don't need 40-something recruits coming in.
No, that's all you need. Just get the cream of the crop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a follow-up thought on that, but I do need to update people. I can't avoid doing this. Ohio State just threw a pick on their second play of the game. Michigan's got the ball back.
No way.
The 35-yard line going in. Ohio State ran the ball for no yards on the first down, and on second down, they threw a pick. Julian Sands, I think his first attempt or second attempt of the game, threw a pick, and now Michigan's about to score a touchdown. We might be on the brink of a 10-0 early lead for the Wolverines, so just buckle up. Today's going to be crazy. I apologize. I'll try not to do too many of those, but I couldn't. I looked up, and I'm like, why the hell's Michigan's offense back on the field? I looked down for a second to look at recruiting rankings, and I missed it, man. Michigan's driving again. To that point, Anthony, though, I think it's a great one, and then we'll kind of wrap up the recruiting thought on this. Oregon has had a great run over the last 25 years. They've played for 2 national championships.
Yeah, it's true.
But those national championships felt like you built for that moment, and then that was your year, and then it was, all right, where do we go from here?
Yes.
There has never been a moment to be simultaneously jacked about the current team and where you're going more so than where Oregon fan is right now. Because you look up and down this roster. Now, we don't know guys like Sadiq, guys like Dante Moore. I don't know who's going to be back and not next year. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse because they got a game to play in the season to finish now. But you look up and down, man, how many of their key rotation players are true freshmen and redshirt freshmen. Your top wide receivers, right? Your corners, running backs. Like, all these dudes are going to be here for 2 more years.
DBs.
And you're adding nothing but, some cream of the crop 5 stars to it to go next year when looking at the freshman impact that they're already making. And so I love that point of there's been years like that 14 title team that fell short against Ohio State. They built for 3 years under Mariota to get to that moment.
Yes.
And then it was all kind of centered around your Heisman winning quarterback, and he's gone, and it's like, all right, what the hell do we do now? And it wasn't like they were bad the next year. Vernon Adams was good, but it just – this is different, man.
Yeah, it is.
There's a saying, and I brought it up this week. I wish there was a way to know you were in the good old days when you were in the good old days. These are the good old days, folks. No matter what happens today, man, this program is in great hands, and they're not going anywhere, whether they win or lose today. But let's go get a win today. So there's a look at recruiting. Let's reset. We'll update you on if Michigan scores a touchdown. They're inside the 10-yard line early on. Scores from elsewhere around the country. We'll give you an update on those as well. And we'll start diving back into Oregon and Washington. Massive game up at Husky Stadium. 12:30 kick right here on the Fan. That is coming up next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes. Here's Jeff Rust.
It's 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 50. Got a little chance of rain later on this evening, and looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 44 and partly cloudy for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium. 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Time for the second half. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Coors Light. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Today, we talk with our pads. Sadiq motions out to the right. Snap back to throw. Look, throw. Deep end zone. Touchdown! Kenyon Sadiq. Don't need 2. Sadiq, give me 6.
We're getting you ready for today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies on Rivalry Week. Oregon Ducks football on the Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Decana Dealerships, Philbrook Law, Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Langdon Farms Golf Club, Wilsonville Toyota, Mountaintop Metal Roofing, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel, Mott's PDX, and Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop.
Touchdown, Oregon!
Now here's your hosts, Andy Johnson and Oregon Hall of Famer Anthony Newman on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, hour number 2 of Ducks Game Day on the Fan, presented by Frost Brew Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Also, remember, Ducks Game Day hits the road when the team does with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar, the official watch party location of the University of Oregon Alumni Association. It'll be a big party out over there today. Watching the game, we miss our friends at Grand Central this morning. They open up at 11 a.m., and they're going to be ready to go. It should be an awesome atmosphere. Great food over there. It's been fun to be out there for all the road games so far this year. Back in studio today because of the early morning. Quick score update. Michigan was held to a field goal. So that game right now 6-0, about halfway through the first quarter. Ohio State has run 2 plays. They threw a pick on their second play. Michigan's moved it decently well, but Ohio State has held them to field goals when they needed to. Texas Tech has a 7-0 lead on West Virginia. It's a game that's interesting in terms of rankings because they are right now the number 5 team in the country, and Miami with a field goal early lead over Pitt. They are up 3-0 on the road. I wanted to get back into something, Anthony, that you talked about earlier, and I'm curious how difficult it is because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to go execute it, and that is rush lanes and rush integrity when you're playing a quarterback like Damon Williams, right? It seems like it's such an, just keep your rush lanes, it's such an easy thing to say, and then you get in the heat of the game, and you as a defensive lineman think, maybe I go make a play here, and I get out of position, but Damon Williams, for his faults at times throwing the football, does not have any of those issues running the ball. This guy is one of the best athletes in the country. Remarkable speed in the open field, and that might end up being the biggest key for Oregon's defense is can you keep him caged in the pocket and make sure those lanes stay where they're supposed to stay?
Well, he's a nightmare for a defensive coordinator. I'm telling you, we can talk about this for an hour. I mean, how to defend him.
What do you do? Yeah.
What do you do? And it starts during the week of practice, and we talk about defensive line, controlled rush. You can't just run up the field like an NFL pass rush and run past the quarterback, because now you just open up a lane and he's running. And it's hard to play man against a team like this because everybody has their back turned, running with the receiver, and now all of a sudden he decides to run. And now you turn around to look, and this guy's quarterback's running down the field. So you have to have a mix of zone and man pressures. When you blitz him, you have to be very controlled. We call it, we blitz to the toes of the quarterback. We don't run through the quarterback. We run to the toes of the quarterback, come to balance, and then make him make a decision. Because if we come at him, he's going to make us miss. Because he's that good.
Yeah.
He's too quick. So when you get there, you hold, you stop. And if you can do that and make him throw from the pocket, you want him to beat you with his arm in the pocket. Now, if he gets outside, that's a different story. Now it becomes tough for defenders, defensive backs, and linebackers, because you're covering a guy who has, the quarterback has 4 or 5 seconds to throw the football because he escaped outside. It is a nightmare to deal with. So, it's. I think the group that's going to help the defense for Oregon is the offense for Oregon. Score points.
Yeah.
Because when you score points, now this Washington offense, they can't run the football. They got to throw the football every down. When they have to throw it every down, it becomes a problem. And I don't think, we talked about this earlier, I don't think you can sustain a 12-play drive throwing the football every snap. You're going to throw a pick. It's going to be some knockdowns.
Take a sack.
It's going to be it's going to be all of a sudden 2nd and 10, then 3rd and 10. So it's very difficult. But you have to control your rush and just make sure he stays in the pocket. But he's going to get some. Yeah. He's a very good football player. Yeah. I think his height is not a problem, but it hurts him a little bit, standing in that pocket trying to see down the field. So now it's important for the defensive linemen to get their hands up.
Well, the other thing, too, I'll add to that is, from a short quarterback angle for him, is that he will sometimes throw picks because he airmails guys over the middle of the field.
That's right, he does.
Because that's just you can't throw the ball down to get it over. I mean, he's he's listed at 5'11", but I don't think he's 5'11". Right, that's one of those in the program thing. I was listed at 5'11" in the program too, right? He's a tiny guy, and so you got to kind of, if you're throwing those posts, those deep in routes over the middle, there has to be elevation on that throw to clear the arms of the defensive lineman, and sometimes that leads to him airmailing a guy and falls into the lap of a safety.
Right.
He's thrown a couple of picks like that, but it'll be a key test for them today to make sure that they understand the integrity of their rush lanes, because I'm with you 100%. If you can make he'll make plays. And Boston is a great wide receiver. But if the majority of the game you can say, we're not going to let you run, we're not going to let you out of the pocket, you beat us from the pocket, by all means, more credit to you. I don't think he's going to be able to do that for 4 quarters. And so
exactly.
Keep him hemmed in there, see if he makes some mistakes, bottle up the run game. But that's you mentioned that earlier. It's always so easy. We just say it, just keep your rush lanes, you'll be fine. And then you get on a 3rd and 9, and you're thinking, I'm going to go get a sack. And then all of a sudden, damn it, there he went, by
gone.
me, right?
Yes.
And to your point on man coverage, too, if he's scrambling around and you're in man coverage, all of a sudden your guy's breaking off his route, and he's going this way. Now he's going that way.
That's right.
Backs to the play. There's an explosive play. So a lot that goes into it. And Damon Williams, a terrific, terrific player. We'll see if Oregon can bait him into some mistakes coming up today. We'll get to the injury report. What do we know about who's in and who's out? The latest updates on that front is coming up next. You got Ducks Game Day live on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Coors Light
It is 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 50. Got a little chance of rain later on this evening. Looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 44 and partly cloudy for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium. 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Injury Report, brought to you by Zoom Care, with clinics near you. Zoom Care offers same-day appointments when you need them, even on evenings and weekends. Insurance accepted, including Medicare. ZoomCare.com.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about injuries.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, your score updates this morning. Ohio State inside the 10-yard line. They're down 6-0 to Michigan. They got a second and goal coming up. Just tried to throw a fade to Jeremiah Smith, and it was incomplete. And Pitt is inside, I think, the 15-yard line on Miami. So they're driving down 3-0 nearing the end of the first quarter, right at around the 11-yard line. They got a second down. So we'll let you know if anybody scores in those spots. The Zoom Care Injury Report, let's tell you what we know. What we know is that Oregon will be once again without their top two wide receivers. DeCorian Moore and Gary Bryant are both expected to be out again today against Washington. And so it'll be a next man up on the outside. There's been no reporting on the offensive line, so time will tell on that. The tough part about this show and when we get to do it is like 40 minutes after we get off the air, you get the full injury report that comes out.
Right, yeah.
And so we just don't have a lot of information to go off of. That's all we got now. I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I think the tackles are going to play. I don't know about Poncho. He did not come back in the game last week. But both your tackles played through the injuries. And so, are they 100%? Who the hell knows? But I think they'll both be available to go. And on the other side, the injury notes are that Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman are expected to play and start today. Now, again, are they 100%? Probably not. You mentioned the brace that Jonah Coleman's been wearing on his knee. And Boston had been doing a lot lately. I think he missed the entire UCLA game, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So they've been dealing with injuries the last couple of weeks. Takario Davis, who is one of their top corners, is questionable going into the game. His status is uncertain. And then for them, their right tackle has been out, I think, the last game or two. They've been bringing him back this week at practice. They're going to say he is available. Now, they didn't say he's going to start. And then their starting center is Landon Hatchett. He is not expected to play. He's got a cast on his hand. Yep. And I don't know a lot about playing center, but I know throwing with snapping the ball and blocking with a cast on your hand ain't the easiest thing to do.
Nope.
So he will not be out there. So that's what we know in terms of injuries today about who is in and who is out. But it'll be another next man up mentality for that wide receiver room. And I just want to give those guys a quick look of credit or shout out, if you will. Man, Malik Benson and the way he's playing right now, coming up at the punt return last week, the catches that he made. Jeremiah McClellan is making tough contested catches.
Yes, he is.
We know Sadiq has stepped up his role a little bit, more of an outside receiver now in certain packages, but it just, man, I don't want to take that for granted because there's times when your receivers go down and you don't have anything else left. And those guys, Malik Benson has maybe been the most untalked about Duck this year in terms of the big plays he's made all year. Jamari Johnson, another guy I didn't even mention there, man.
Yes.
Dude, all those guys deserve credit. They're filling in great for the wide receivers right now.
And again, yes, you're talking about the star wide receivers are not playing, but these other guys, they're becoming stars. I mean, Malik Benson, to me, he's always been a dude.
Yeah.
I think target that guy more. I mean, the guy has speed. He can run away from anybody. He can catch the ball. Feed him the ball. Target him. But when you have Sadiq on your team, wow. Hey, I'm just going to throw to number 18. Who's going to guard number 18?
Nobody can guard him.
Nobody can guard him.
Even
and then
double team, they can't guard him.
And then since we're not going to throw the ball, let me just hand the ball off to these three running backs I have.
Right. It helps to have that many guys around him, right?
Yeah.
You look last week, the catches and catches and yards. Sadiq 6 for 72, Malik Benson 4 for 67, McClellan 3 for 53, and Jamari Johnson 3 for 34. So all of your wide receivers and tight ends that played and caught balls all average over 10 yards of reception last week. And so they're all playing. There was a moment in that game that Oregon was legitimately down to 3 scholarship wide receivers. When McClellan went down, he banged up his shoulder early in the game. Now he finished the game, he came back, but he was out for a couple. They had 3 scholarship wide receivers left, and your quarterback still did a great job. So receivers out again today. Sounds like next man up, man. That's how Oregon's been dealing with it now for a while. Injury report brought to you by Zoom Care. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at ZoomCare.com. Don't say anything to jinx it. We're on a heater right now. Who got a win last week? Who's feeling good? Are we back? Are we back, Anthony?
No comment.
I think we're back, baby.
We're back.
I sent you guys a text last week. Hey, we finally got one, man.
I saw that.
Vanderbilt won the game. So the red hot and rolling heater goes into the Legends Casino Hotel Lock of the Week. That is next. 105.1 FM The Fan.
There are It is 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day with a high of 50. Got a little bit of a chance of rain later on this evening and a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 44 and partly cloudy. For the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium, 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
It's time for winners. The lock of the week.
And here's the handoff. Whittington 10-5. Touchdown. No Whittington.
Where our hosts share their picks of the week. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, Washington. Within winning distance. Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network. 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, welcome back in. Looks like we got an Ohio State touchdown on the board. Quarterback sneak on 3rd and goal. And if it holds, I'm sure they'll review it. Who knows how long this will take. If it holds, it'll be 7-6. Ohio State with the lead. Pitt has the ball inside the 10-yard line. They damn near just fumbled on 1st and goal, but they got it back. Pitt is trailing Miami 3-0 right now. The ACC championship race is one of the funniest things going on in the sport because Miami is the highest-ranked team in the ACC, and they have virtually no pathway to get to the conference title game. But they're everybody knows they're the best team in the conference, but they lost 2 games they shouldn't have. It's just a weird conundrum. Pitt and Miami going on. If Pitt wins, they're in the ACC title. I think they play SMU.
Yeah.
If everybody holds and wins. SMU is unranked. Pitt just lost by 80 to Notre Dame last week, but... Oh, buddy. All right. We are on a heater. That's what they call a winning streak, and just red hot and rolling into this weekend.
I
mean, we're in this together, man. We're in this. Are you my D coordinator again? I thought you're back on the train.
I jumped off.
You're done. Look, I'm going to stab the team in the back that got me the win last week because they're going on the road. Now, this is a big one to circle. There's a lot of games. If Oregon is to lose today, there's a lot of different angles of rooting interest because there's no guarantee Oregon gets in the playoff at 10-2.
Yeah.
You need some other dominoes to fall. I'm not just picking this game because I want the domino to fall. I'm picking it because I think it will actually happen. Vanderbilt is going on the road to Tennessee. Very similar situation to today. Vanderbilt's not guaranteed a spot in the playoff if they win, but they're going to have a solid resume. They'd be 10-2 in the SEC, 6-2 in SEC games. Tennessee is on the outside looking in. They're not going to be in the playoff picture. They're 8-3. But I also don't really trust Vanderbilt in big moments on the road. And I think Tennessee, there was a lot of chatter in the offseason from Diego Pavia, the Vanderbilt quarterback, about how they're going to dominate the state and how we're coming and we're going to be the best team in Tennessee and we're in Nashville, we're the capital, all that nonsense, right? I think Tennessee takes it personally. The game is in Neyland. It will be going on at the same time as the Oregon-Washington game. So just flip over, check a score on your phone if you want to. Tennessee's only favored by 2.5 in this game, so I just need them to win by 3. I think Tennessee gets it done and knocks Vanderbilt out of the playoffs today. I'm taking Tennessee minus 2.5, lock of the week. How we feeling, D coordinator?
Nah. Nah.
Hey, look, I don't blame you. I wouldn't trust me either.
Nah.
A blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. And I found one last week. Probably won't find one again today.
Yeah,
but it is a good rooting interest if you're a Duck fan to root for Tennessee to knock Vanderbilt out of that picture.
Yeah, true.
You'd also love
That's
Auburn
true.
to win the Iron Bowl later tonight. A lot of dominoes need to fall, so we'll see how it all shakes out. And I think they just took the touchdown off the board. The Ohio State game, so they're going to have a fourth and goal. Fourth and goal from the half-inch yard line, it appears, and it's starting to snow. This is college football at its finest. We'll keep you updated on that one. The Lock of the Week brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino, within winning distance, online at legendscasino.com. You know what? Let's stay on the air for a live play-by-play of fourth down, shall we? From the 1-yard line. They're going to hand it off. Nope, play action. And, they blew the play dead. Michigan called a timeout. So, no, there's a flag. They might have to kick a field goal. So much craziness going on. Let's get back in Oregon-Washington. It's a false start. Ohio State's going to kick a field goal from the 5-yard line. We're back after this on 105.1 FM The Fan.
The hard
responsibly on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
It is 6-3 indeed in Ann Arbor. Ohio State kicks a field goal. Michigan getting the ball back. 4:33 to go in the first quarter. Miami is trailing Pitt 7-3 in frigid Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They're trying to drive again. We'll see if they can get some more points on the board. And we had our eyes on the Texas Tech-West Virginia game, but I think you can take your eyes off that game. I think it's 21-0 in the first quarter, so go ahead and look away. I don't think anything interesting is going to happen there, although we will let you know if the tide changes a little bit. Oregon and Washington coming up, 12:30 right here on The Fan. And as always, when the Ducks hit the road, so does Ducks Game Day with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. Head on out there today, the official watch party location at the University of Oregon Alumni Association. Awesome food, great drink deals going on. Go hang out with a bunch of Ducks and alumni and watch the game as it kicks off at 12:30, and you can, of course, hear it right here on The Fan. It is crazy to think of the stakes of today's game, right? I mean, Oregon, as we mentioned, if Michigan wins this game, they got the lead right now. I don't know how it's going to play out. Oregon would go to the Big Ten title game if they beat Washington. They got a chance to go win back-to-back conference titles and redeem their only loss of the season in that scenario against Indiana. They're also in a good spot that even if Ohio State wins this game, if Oregon is to win today in Seattle, there's a good chance that you're the 5 or the 6 seed potentially in the first round. That means you don't play in the Big Ten title game. You would get a couple of weeks off, and you play the weekend of the 19th or the 20th, and you would likely get the Group of 6 team or the ACC champion in your first-round playoff game. And so things are setting up nicely for Oregon. The difficulty is you got to go do it, right? You got to go take care of business now.
Right.
And it's one of the things that I will lean on with their quarterback, and we've talked a little bit about him, but in all my years of watching football, and maybe there's a name that stands out to you of a guy you played with or a guy you watched, to see somebody through the highs and the lows never have a demeanor change the way Dante Moore does.
I know.
I don't know who taught him that and how that was ingrained in his DNA, but it is remarkable to see him throw that touchdown pass to Sadiq. It looks like he's taking a nap. He just woke up with the way he's celebrating. And the same thing when something bad goes down. His demeanor is always so constant, and I imagine that's a calming presence inside that huddle for them.
Well, it is, but for some coaches kind of get nervous when a player doesn't show any emotion. For example, you throw a pick, all of a sudden he just runs off the field and doesn't really show any, like he's mad. You're used to a guy throwing a pick and just getting angry, takes his helmet off and
slam it
down.
Yeah.
Or if he scores, somebody throws a touchdown, or a quarterback goes crazy, gets real happy. Some coaches like that, and some coaches, Dante Moore, you're not getting that from him. I mean, you're right. It's like, are you awake?
Hello, wait. Hey, Dante,
it's
the fourth quarter.
You just made a great throw,
right.
Hit a nice touchdown, and you're winning. And wake up.
Yeah.
But that's who he is, and you have to as a coach, you take that and go, okay, this is my quarterback. This is the type of person that he is. We're going to go with this. We're going to deal with this. And it's nice because all of a sudden when things are not going wrong, he's not going crazy. He doesn't look flustered. He's just still in it. He's still trying to figure things out. So it's a good thing, but some coaches get a little nervous with that. They do.
Show a little heat, man.
Show me something.
It is so funny. Yeah, I mean, I think it served him well, too, in 2 of their bigger wins on the year, right? I mean, you go back to the Penn State game where he was outstanding, I thought, in that game, and then you're having to put together drives in back-to-back overtimes. You have to put scores together.
Yeah.
He's making throws. He's making the right calls. The moment isn't too big for him. And then you're down to Iowa with your season on the line with a minute and 51 to go. And what does he do? He orchestrates without his receivers. The offensive line's banged up, and he puts together one of the best drives of the year. And so it served him really well in those big moments, those pressure moments. You could just tell his heart rate does not get too high or too low. And so I'm with you that sometimes a guy makes a bad play, and you want him to show a little heat and a little passion. But also the other side of that coin is when the moment's the biggest and the most, you want to make sure that you're calm and you're not freaking out and trying to do too much.
Correct.
And he's shown the ability to do that because this is going to be a tough environment today, and you're going to need that kind of steady Eddie quarterback. And it could serve them well. So looking forward to it today, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oregon and Washington, so much on the line. Get to beat up on the puppies, hopefully. I hate the color purple. Everything about that damn school. I just can't stand
You all right?
Yeah.
I can see a little fire in the eye.
You see, I'm not Dante Moore. I'm not as steady
You're not
Eddie.
Dante Moore.
I'm not Dante Moore. We get fired
We need
up.
to calm you down a little bit, okay?
Yeah, hose me off.
We got 4 quarters.
Right? That's right. We got a long ways to go.
We got a long way.
Breathe with
we
me.
got
Breathe with
75
me.
snaps. You're good.
It's only snap one. Take a deep breath, all right? Let's hear from Joey Harrington. He did join Isaac and Suk this week on Wednesday going into the game. What did the former Oregon quarterback have to say about this matchup? That is coming up next. Ducks Game Day on 105.1 FM The Fan.
It is currently 46 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get a bit heavier throughout the day with a high of 50. Got a little chance of rain later on this evening and looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it's 44 and partly cloudy. For the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium, 47 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
Let's preview the game with a Ducks legend.
Wait for it. Daring.
Captain Comeback, Joey Harrington, from his weekly visit every Friday on Primetime.
I would call myself somebody who's been around for a long time and wants to tell some nice stories.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Touchdown, Oregon.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Last week for the USC game, you were a little worried. You had I believe the meter was at 8.5. Where are we this week?
9.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the right call. This is the more dangerous game, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's 9. Look, here's this one freaks me out for a number of reasons. One, I think people are overlooking, and obviously not Lanning and the team, but like this is one where it's like, oh, the Huskies are, they aren't in it anymore. They're not as good as USC. Who has Washington lost to? 2 teams that are still alive for the Big Ten championship. Nobody's talking about Michigan, but they're one loss.
Yeah.
They beat Ohio State and they beat Ohio State and Indiana loses. I mean, they still can back their way into the Big Ten championship game. And then they lost to Wisconsin, who, hey, let's again call a spade a spade. Oregon didn't look too great against Wisconsin.
Same kind of weather conditions.
Exactly. Souk, what month was that game played in?
Which is in November, man.
November. So they lost a crappy, grinded-out game in November, and they lost to 2 of the best teams in the conference. And now all of a sudden, they're just completely erased from any sort of relevance, and we have to go on the road in a crappy weather game at the end of November to that black hole of an abyss on the lake with everything on the line, and there's no way. And let's not forget the fact that quietly Washington put up 45 last week, almost 50 the week before.
Last 2 weeks they put up 40 plus.
This one scares the hell out of me, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that. It is absolutely the quintessential sort of blueprint for the Witches of November.
Yep,
it just is.
Yep.
But is there an element of trust with this Oregon team though? Under Dan Lanning, that they've built this thing that...
There you go. You started that sentence. Is there an element of trust with this Oregon football team? I would say with this football team, no. With last year's football team, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And they lost to Ohio State. I understand that. This year, they looked fantastic to start. They had a blip in the middle, then they kind of hit the skids, and then they're back on track. But the one constant in all of that is Dan Lanning. And if you're gonna, I'm trying to think of another head coach that I would rather have prepare my team. And then maybe I'm a bit biased in this, but there aren't too many people that I would rather say, hey, you got one game, make sure these guys are prepared. I'm picking Dan, and that is what does give me a little bit of comfort, but that's what makes me feel a little bit better coming into it.
Joey Harrington, courtesy of Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Hi, I'm Matthew
have the Ducks and today's matchup. Ask Jorgie. Brought to you by Bellagio's Pizza, the very best.
We think that there's some alphas on our team, but nobody else right now does, and so that's the type of thing that you're going to have to prove.
With Ducks color analyst and former quarterback Mike Jorgensen, Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, he's our favorite. He's a color analyst of the Oregon Ducks, Mike Jorgensen. He's always brought to you by Bellagio's Pizza. Score big with their Game Day special, large cheese or one-topping pizza, small cheese sticks, and a 2-liter all for only $25. Go to Bellagio'sPizza.com to find one of their 13 locations near you. First off, Jorgie, happy Thanksgiving. Did we eat a lot of turkey? How was the Thanksgiving holiday?
Oh, way overdid it, guys. Way overdid it. And it was good. Every bit of it was good. How about you guys? Good Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
Great.
It was good. It was good. Now, Anthony's worried about all these leftovers in the fridge, you know.
They're staring at me.
The best part, man. Best part.
You guys stay hungry. Set the scene for me. What's it look like up there? It seems like the weather's going to be nice. Not an impact. Thank God it's not going to be raining. We've had enough of those this year. What's it looking like in Seattle? What's the vibe like around the stadium a couple hours before kick?
Yeah, good day in Seattle. Really cool, crisp. I wouldn't call it clear, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a threat of rain. Sun's coming out every once in a while, but it's a little chilly, and you get a little bit of a breeze as Dusty's going to feel down there in the field. It'll be a little bit chilly for everybody, but it's a great day to play football here in Seattle. I think the crowd kind of slowly starting to spill in. I thought they'd be here a little bit quicker this morning, but before we know it, Husky Stadium will be full and loud, and Oregon just seems to take on the challenge of these away environments. They just love it, and I'm looking forward to how they attack today.
Yeah, they've been battle tested on the road, doing it on the road at Iowa and Penn State obviously earlier this year. So this one a little bit different because it's a rivalry game and with all the stuff on the line. Let's get to the matchup, Jorgie, and we've talked a lot about it. And I think one of the biggest keys that you bring up every week, and more so maybe this week than others, is Oregon's ability to run the football. When you look at the games Washington has lost, they've been outrushed, I think, by over 100 yards. Not in the Wisconsin game necessarily, but in the Michigan and Ohio State games that they played, they've been outrushed. I imagine when you circle this matchup, that's one of the biggest keys for you is Oregon's ability to stay balanced. And then I think kind of what they did to USC last week is saying you hit a chunk play here or there, that's fine, but we're not going to let you be multi-dimensional on offense, and we're going to slow down your rushing attack.
Yeah, I mean, I think being able to run the ball effectively throughout the game really puts the defense on their heels. And it's a great opportunity, I think, to do that here against Washington because, when you're down a few receivers, in particular with Gary Bryant and Decoria Moore and that type of deal, you don't have your full complement of everybody. So the ability to be able to run the ball makes guys like Kenyon Sadiq and others really dangerous, almost like wide receivers. And frankly, that's the way they're playing anyway. So I just think that the better you can run it, and Oregon has done that against some very gritty defensive teams, the way to quiet a crowd too, which this team, I think, just really enjoys being able to do, as they did at Iowa, frankly. That's the one that comes to mind is in a really hostile environment against a defense that's salty. The ability to run the ball kind of quieted the crowd a little bit, gave this offense a lot of confidence. And I think that's what they're looking for today on a dry day, unlike the Iowa day.
Jorgie, what do you do with a quarterback like Damon Williams? I mean, does he scare you a little bit? I mean, the guy who can he can run. How do you deal with him?
I think, Anthony, he dictates everything with what that offense does. I mean, he's a good thrower. He's not the tallest guy in the world, so if you can put a little bit of pressure on him and not allow him to be able to see the open zones downfield, I think that certainly helps. But you got to spy him. I think that's a guy you got to spy almost all game long with an athlete-for-athlete type of situation. I think you're good enough at the other positions to go one-on-one on the outside, put some guys on some islands, and hopefully put a defender on an island against him because he is the danger piece of it. He can run it. He's fast. He's as fast as anybody on the field. He's got a good arm, a couple of really nice wide receivers on the outside. So I think you got to spy Damon Williams. You really got to keep an eye on him. And, what's amazing to me is how athletic he is and yet how many sacks Washington gives up and how many times he's been sacked this season. And I was talking to Cam Cleveland about it, and he says, Jed Fish wants him to stay in the pocket. Yeah. He does not want him to run. And he said oftentimes holds on the ball too long because he's coached to stay in that pocket, can't see between the tall offensive lineman and defensive lineman, and that's the way the sacks tend to stack up against those guys. So, it's going to be a cat-mouse game with him all day long. he's going to frustrate you sometimes, and other times you're going to get him.
Yeah, that's a good point on him. Try to make him beat you from the pocket. If Jed Fish wants him to do that, I'd say go ahead. We'll let you do that all day if that's the game plan you want to have.
Really.
I want to go to the quarterback on the other side, Georgie, and you mentioned the ability to run the football is a huge help for any quarterback. But then you look at Dante and the way that he played last week. I mean, just a couple of NFL throws that made me go, wow. Some of them in moments when 3 offensive linemen are down and your top wide receivers aren't playing. We joke about his demeanor never changing, whether it's a good play or bad play. But I think it serves him well in these big environments. What'd you make of the way number 5 played last weekend?
Well, decision making. I mean, he's just making really good decisions, not putting the ball in harm's way. And I'm glad that I heard you say Dante Moore and run at the beginning of the game, the way he's running the offense. Frankly, I think his legs become a factor in games like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've sprinkled him in 4 or 5 times a game when you least expect it. And every time that he's taken advantage of it, they've been for big yards, sometimes, gashing type of runs. And so I think today you don't run him a whole lot, but you keep that bullet in your vest, and you just use it when you need to type of situation. But still, he's just been in such great command, making really good decisions, and the running game has made it a lot easier for him to find open guys downfield.
How do you put into context what Kenyon Sadiq is and how he does? Every time I see him in person, I'm just blown away that, one, somebody can be that large. It just doesn't make sense, doesn't compute in my head. But then, two, like you see, he's a wide receiver, and he's the best blocking tight end. I don't know how to make sense of it, but they've needed him to play big. Obviously, as you mentioned, with the receiver injuries, he has stepped up massive. He's one of the best physical freaks we've ever seen walk through Eugene, Oregon. There's been a lot of them. How do you put into words what Kenyon Sadiq's doing right now?
Well, I mean, what he's doing right now is pretty freakish. There's no doubt about that. But I think what I like about the guy is he came in and was patient. They knew he was a guy that could outrun anybody down the field in high school, a big guy for high school anyway, and he would just run streaks. I mean, he even kind of made a joke about that on the coach's show we had with him. He said, yeah, I used to just run down the field and they throw it to me because he was faster than everybody on the field for being a pretty good-sized guy. Now he's allowed himself the patience of learning the positions and the position and the nuances that you have to. You can't just be a receiver. You got to be a blocker. You got to be a physical guy. You got to do different things in this offense. If you're going to take it to the next level in the NFL, you got to be able to be more than just a pass receiver. And I think he's been very patient with that. He's allowed himself to form his body into the strong type of blocker, and yet his athleticism is kind of freakish for now, 245 or 250. And he almost looks like one of those fake made-up characters that you draw.
Yes.
You can't draw the muscles any more definitively. So
well,
anyhow, it's fun to see them guys on Oregon's team.
Yes.
Well, I think you need him for a bodyguard, because how do you feel in the stadium right now, Georgie? I mean, you're up there, you got your shorts, you're wearing your Oregon hat, your shirt.
Softy trying to attack you yet? Is he throwing anything at you?
Yeah, that's right. We got here quick and early, guys, so we didn't have to fight through anybody. So it's pretty easy right now. Cam Cleveland's the only guy I'm afraid of right now. He's on the other side of the window, and I don't think we're going to be looking at each other with smiles on our face today, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Now, did you have any wins over the Huskies in your time at Oregon?
No, they got us every time. Couple of close ones, but they got us every time. Yeah, pretty good.
How does this? Has it sunk into you yet? This new tradition. I mean, we're obviously, for being around the program for so long, and you guys obviously longer than me. But going to Oregon, and it's always Civil War week. The week of Thanksgiving, and so now it changes. I'm glad that at least it's another natural rival that's replaced it. Has it become normal yet, or is that going to take some more time for you?
I think it's become normal. I mean, it's a big game. Either way, whether you play them in the middle of the season, at the end of the season, and the same for Oregon State, whether you play them in the middle or at the end, it's a big game. It's just that, Washington obviously plays at a little different level than Oregon State does for now. And so it's just one of those big games, and there it is on the field again. Last week, it said the Venmo big rivalry series game. Well, this one says the same thing, so we're playing in two of them right in a row, two rivals on the West Coast. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Got to sponsor everything. I love that. I didn't see that on the Venmo rivalry series,
there
baby.
We go.
It's a new name. Everybody says we need a name for the rivalry. There you go. That could be your name for the rivalry game. Georgie, hey, we always enjoy the time. I can't believe the regular season is about to come to an end. We'll see where Oregon goes from here. So much still in front of this team. Can't wait to see how it plays out today. Have a great call, and we'll catch up with you again here soon.
All right, guys. Thanks. Should be fun today. Looking forward to it.
There you go. Mike Jorgensen. We'll send it up to those guys in Seattle here in a couple of moments because we're almost done. As always, Jorgie brought to you by Bellagio's Pizza. Score big with their game day special. Large cheese and one-topping pizza, small cheese sticks, and a 2-liter, all for only $25. Go to Bellagio'sPizza.com to find one of their 13 locations near you. It's almost that time. We're almost done. Quick update, by the way, because it happened. I didn't want to interrupt the Jorgie answer. Ohio State had a 4th and 5 at about the 40-yard line, and they elected to go for it, and they threw a touchdown pass to Jeremiah Smith.
I know.
He just said, to Jorgie's point on Kenyon Sadiq, they told their freak wide receiver, hey, go long, and we're going to go throw it to you. And he scored a touchdown. So they bombed one on 4th and 5 from the 40, scored a touchdown. It is 10-6. Ohio State has the lead right now over Michigan. Michigan trying to put a drive together. They're running the ball okay today, so it's going to be a battle, man. It's snowing. This is perfect November football. The nostalgia hits you with the helmets and the logos. One of the best games of the year. Ohio State, Michigan looking like it'll be another dogfight with a lot of implications downstream to other teams in the Big Ten race and in the college football playoff race. What happens if Michigan wins this game? Wild stuff. Final thoughts from us. We only got 2 more segments to go. We'll start wrapping things up. Coming up next on 105.1 FM The Fan.
Say hello to Jim.
It is 47 and fair here in Portland. Cloud cover will continue to get heavier throughout the day. We get looking at a high of 50, a little chance of rain coming later on this evening. Looking at a chilly overnight low of 35 with a few clouds. In Seattle, it is 44 and sunny for the 12:30 kick at Husky Stadium. 48 degrees and cloudy skies. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day weather every 10 minutes.
The grill is sizzling. Some teams are cooked. It's time for What's at Stake.
You know what? I'm going to cook on your grill.
A look at the smoking hot games in college football. Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. More than just your favorite neighborhood steakhouse.
I am going to have that third steak after all. Go ahead and put that order in now.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
Ducks Game Day hits the road when the team does to a Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar, the official watch party location of the University of Oregon Alumni Association. Big watch party out there today. Should be a blast with a lot of Duck fans getting ready to go. Remember, coming up after the game today to listen to the Dick Hanna Dealership's post-game scoreboard show as Joe Fisher and George Schultz will be breaking everything down that happens in Seattle today. And that leads us to What's at Stake. And it's... this one's pretty simple. Everything. Everything is what's at stake. Look, there's a chance Oregon loses today and you still get into the college football playoff at 10-2, but you would need a lot of help, starting with Ohio State winning today, because if Michigan wins, they're in the playoff. 10-2, Michigan's finding a way to get in. There's only 12 spots, though, and you're also dealing with the playoff right now where it looks like the Group of 6 champ is not ranked in the top 12, so that means only 11 of the highest-ranked teams will make it. And the ACC champ is likely to not be in the top 12, so that means only the 10 highest-ranked teams are going to make it. And so it basically gives you the framework of where you need to be ranked in order to make it. If Oregon loses today, I don't know if you're one of those 10 teams. And so what's at stake? Everything is at stake today, not just a trip to the Big Ten title game and playoffs. I mean, it's all on the line today in Seattle.
Well, Oregon's in a good spot. I know the coaches are saying this because they control their own destiny.
Yes.
And that's what you want. You don't have to worry about other teams. If this team wins, no, you go win. If you go win, you took care of business, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
So now we just focus on our game. Now we just understand what we have to do as a player, as a team. And we haven't talked about this, but what's at stake is special teams need to be special.
Again, yeah.
We talk about offense, we talk about defense, we talk about we need to win the game.
Yep.
We control our own destiny. Okay, make that also special teams to help out with that destiny because, again, you're going to be in a dogfight. There's no doubt about it. This is going to be a 4-quarter match. I think after 3 quarters, it starts to unfold, and you'll see the better team, Oregon, rise above. But it's going to be a battle.
Yep. It ain't going to be easy, man. If it is, then that's great. But I don't think it's going to be easy either. I'm with you. We're going to have some final thoughts on the game. What's at stake, as always, brought to you by Laurelhurst Market, more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. We'll give you a final score update from around the games around the country. Michigan driving right now. Looks like they're going to have to kick a field goal. We'll let you know what's going on there. Miami and Pitt nearing the end of the first half. So we'll take a quick look at all those and give some final thoughts on the game and our score prediction as we wrap things up and then send you to Seattle at the bottom of the hour. We're back after this on 105.1 FM The Fan.
And get you the latest on the betting lines.
All you got to do is bet on the winner and you'll never lose.
On the Fan Sports Network, 105.1, 1080, and the Odyssey app.
All right, a quick peek around the country for the games that matter for Oregon and for the college football playoff. There are 4 of them going on right now. Michigan just nailed a 49-yard field goal, and so Ohio State has a 10-9 lead. There's about 6 minutes to go, or 5 minutes to go and change in the first half. 10-9. Talk about dogfights and being uncomfortable. That will be one all day for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Texas Tech is just whooping up on West Virginia, so their spot likely in the playoff in the Big 12 title game is secured. They're up 28-0 with 2 minutes to go in the first half in Morgantown. Miami has the ball and they're driving with a 10-7 lead with 2 minutes to go in the first half. They are on the road at Pitt. Pitt is in the ACC title game with a win. Miami needs about 37 dominoes to fall, plus a win today just to get to the ACC title game. And this one, I don't know if there's anything there. Just keep an eye on it, circle it. Central Florida has an early lead over BYU.
Yeah.
And BYU's been a funky team this year. They've been lucky to survive a couple of games. 7-0 UCF over BYU early. Score prediction and last thought, Anthony Newman.
Oregon wins this football game. They're going to run the football very well. 28-17.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good score prediction.
Yeah. Washington's going to score some points. And Oregon's not going to score a lot of points. It's cold weather up there, but it's 28-17.
Why the hell, man? I'm going to go further than that. Give me 38-14.
Ooh.
Run the rock, pull away in the second half.
Ooh.
Puppies are no challenge.
There we go.
Let's go, baby.
There we go.
Oh, please, for the love of God, get a win. When the Ducks hit the road, so does Ducks Game Day with Grand Central Bowl Arcade and Sports Bar. Make sure to go check out the big watch party of the Alumni Association. Their kickoff at 12:30. You can hear it right here on the Fan and watch it on CBS. That will do it. Our final regular season broadcast of the year. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Good luck today. Hopefully the Ducks get a win, and we'll talk to you whenever we talk to you next time. We'll find out when that's going to be in the aftermath of the games. Until next time, go Ducks.